We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 109. Today, we're going to have special guests. I am Maverick, Eric Persson. We're going to talk about NBA playoffs, the baseball start for the Tampa Bay Rays, and whatever else you all want to talk about. My poker week. The Mouthpiece is next. We're back. We've made it 1 week. We're trying to keep it on a consistent basis. Try and get more guests here. Today we're going to have I Am Maverick, Eric Persson on the show. It's going to be a fun show. He likes to talk a lot like me. We're going to talk about his run up with Phil when they played head up. We're going to talk about the up and coming $1 million game. We're going to talk about what it was like to lose the biggest pot in poker history. Things are good for me. Another great week so far in poker. Last week, me and Phil got in a little bit of a fight a week ago Sunday, almost 2 weeks ago now. Wow, 12 days ago. And it kind of really got me down about kind of what happened. So I took the week off. A girl I'm kind of seeing came up to see me, and I just took 7 days off. And so got back in, started playing. 2 days ago, I was playing really good, and I got out in front about 19,500. And then they said, we're quitting in 10 hands, so I didn't really want to get involved with 10 hands to go. I folded like 3 hands I never would have folded. 2 of them I probably would have 3-bet. But then the next thing you know, somebody gets stuck in the game. They want to stay. They're begging us to stay longer. I end up playing another hour, and I end up losing back like 6K. Made a bad raise on the river. I should have just called 1,100. So it cost me like 2,500. So I won like 13-8 in that session. It's the only session I'd really played in about 10 days. Jumped to the game late last night. I went out last night to go to a rapper concert of a guy named Puya. He is somebody who played poker with in a private game, and young kid, really good kid, 28 years old. And he put on a hell of a show. We went to the Brooklyn Bowl, so that was pretty fun. The only problem was I was in horrific pain all night, and I couldn't even move. I couldn't even walk. Woke up in terrible pain. So the pain is back. Hopefully it's going to be a 3-week or 4 or 5 week of pain, and then I'll be gone for like 4 months for the World Series, because that's usually what happens for me. I get 3, 4, 5 months off, and then I get a 3-4 week where I'm in brutal pain. So if I start screaming today, it's because my intercostal neurologist acted up. So I came home last night. I jumped in a small game, 3-6-12 game, and it was really unbelievable. So normally I buy in for max 6K, but I just got home. The PLO plays kind of big. I said, I'm buying for 3,000. Let me, kind of get focused a little bit, then I'll buy in deeper. And the very first hand I post, you can't make this up. The very first hand I post, $6, whatever. I always post because, it doesn't matter where you, $6 doesn't matter. And pretty good player raises to, in PLO, under the gun 70. I have bad aces, ace, 8, 9, no suit. I call 70. The one behind me calls 70. Another player, well-known player, can't say his name, he makes it 320. It goes call 320, call 320, call 320. And now I'm able to make it 1650, where I have less than a half a pot bet with aces and kind of isolate because I have nothing behind. So chances are I'm either going to win it right here or be head up. So, but as it turns out, I make it 1650. The 320 calls 1650. Another 320 calls 1650. And then the original raiser back raises it to 8650. I'm now all in. The 320 calls the 8650, and so does the person. The other person calls all in for like 4,500. Now the other person that called the 8650, the one who originally made it 320, has 1,100 left. Now the flop comes down 9, 9, 10. Now remember, I have ace, ace, 8, 9. 9, 9, 10 rainbow. The back raiser pots. The guy who put 8650 in pre-flop, which was probably with like 3, 4, 5, 6 or something, folds for 1,100. So, because he wasn't all in, we didn't have to see two boards, only had to see one. And as it turns out, I'm up against King, King, Jack, Queen. So, he flopped a wrap on the straight. And he had a good hand, King, King, Jack, Queen with a suit. And I don't blame him for back raising because I'm already all in. And so, and the other person had ace, king, jack, deuce with ace, king of hearts, whatever. Anyways, but the funny part was the first board, a 10 rolls off. You'd think at a, 4-bet pot, somebody has a 10 in their hand. But I scooped the first board with 3 9s with an ace. And on the first run out. And on the second run out, I catch an 8 on the turn card, which makes me a full house. And the other guy straight. I end up scooping a 12K pot the very first hand dealt in. I'm up 9,000. And then I misplayed one hand, lost I got bluffed out of 2,000. I kind of quit. So I won like 7,800. So we're up 21,000 for the week with 2 plays. So poker's been good. My Lakers are in as a 7 seed. A lot of people are writing them off a little bit because they didn't play well against Minnesota. But Austin Reeves is going to play better. Their shooters are going to shoot better. And I do think the Lakers are going to win this series in 6 or 7. I'm not sure, though. I think if the Grizzlies had Clark and Adams, we don't win. But I don't see – they have nobody to guard Davis. And he should be able to go off. They got somebody to guard LeBron, but, it's all about matchups. I like my Lakers to advance. Everybody thinks the Warriors are going somewhere. I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't even think they might not even get out of the first round, but we'll see. And that's what's going on there. It was an ugly game, the Minnesota Laker game, but it was a great comeback. And I'm just happy that I've been riding them all year. So I got 2, bets that I made. I got the Bucks plus 480 for 1,000, and I have the Lakers at 50 to 1. So a Laker Bucks final would be amazing. But whatever, that's it. I bet each one for 1,000. So baseball's amazing. I haven't really watched anything. All I do is watch the Tampa Bay Rays break every record that's ever been put up in the history of Major League Baseball. The new rules look like they're doing wonders for the hitting. Stolen bases are up like 30%. And this is what we needed. It was just baseball was just awful when it was just home run or strikeout. It was just terrible. So I was against the pitch clock. But even yesterday with the Yankees giving up 9 runs in the first, that game only went 2 hours and 20 minutes. So it looks like it's going to be a success. I wish they could have changed other rules to make the games a little quicker, maybe. So what if it's an extra 10 minutes or whatever? But people getting called out because they're not in the box on time or whatever. My Dodgers off to a 7-6 start, kind of what I expected. Don't really think that I don't know. They just have the lineup or to win a World Series, but I tell you, I would love to see Tampa Bay be for real. mean, here's a team with a $75 million payroll, and they just are in the playoffs every year. And I think Toronto ends their 13-0 tonight. Toronto will probably take 2 out of 3. There's a big, but if you're betting, I don't bet on these baseball or anything. But if you're a bettor, there's a big trend. When a team wins over 10 games in a row, right? All of a sudden, especially at the start of season, the bookmakers adjust. They start making them favorites or small dogs in games. Once they do lose, this is a very good trend. Once they do lose, you just bet against them the next 10. And the trend is they usually go 4-6 or 5-5, and you're getting a plus on every game. So, if the Tampa Bay, when they do lose, and make sure you bet against them in the next 10 games, and you'll probably make a lot of money. Anyways, so that's just one of the trends when I used to bet baseball back when I was like 18 or 19, and I followed that trend over the years, and it's stayed that way. But yeah, so we got a real good interview coming up today with Eric Persson. He's a lot like me when it comes to talking shit at the table. I've heard nothing but good things about him from very good people in poker, and that's why I wanted to have him on the show today. So we're going to have him on the show here in about 2 minutes, and then we're going to take live phone calls for anyone who wants to talk to him and ask him any questions, and then we're going to go from there. So basically, poker's been good. Life's good. I can't complain. It's I'm looking forward to the World Series 5 weeks away. I'm definitely this year. I know I say it every year, but I'm going to play more No Limit Hold'em tournaments this year. I love my No Limit Hold'em game. My feel is amazing. I don't want to sound egotistical because it just sounds stupid, but I'm really good. And when you just know when you're just seeing the I call it seeing the arena so clearly as I am right now, it's a good feeling. I love the mixed game events. I'll be playing all the 10Ks. We are going to have giveaways where I give away 1% to all my 10Ks. This year, we're going to even go bigger. We're going to give away 2% to the main. As you know, I've cashed 4 years in a row, I think. And I'm 1 away from tying the record for all-time main event cashes. The only thing, about the main event is I went into day 4, later day 3 last year, and the pain was real bad. And day 4, they got me a dealer's chair, and the pain wasn't bad. I thought I played good, and you guys know how I bluffed it all off. So we're going to be doing that. My online poker room's still going. If y'all want to play some $1, $2 PLO, it's a PLO no limit mix now. You can email mouthpoker@yahoo.com, mouthpoker@yahoo.com. $250 in chips for 200. And we'll talk about my NBA picks down the road. But right now, I want to get Eric on the show and talk, shoot the shit with him. And we got him on the Zoom there, buddy?
I've sent him the link.
Okay. And so as soon as he gets on, we'll see what's going on. So as far as the NBA goes, okay, there's a rule of thumb. And the first round, the favorites just crush. I really believe that the Celtics, Philadelphia, and the Bucks, if you bet them every game, and if they don't cover, you double up the next game, you're going to win a fortune. These 3 teams are 100 miles ahead of any other team on the East. I think it'll be 4-0, 4-1, 4-1, or 4-0, 4-0, 4-1 on the East. The West is going to be interesting. I think, I don't know, Wiggins has been gone for so long. Like, he wasn't even playing good when he was here. And now you're asking for that Wiggins that you saw play the best playoffs in the best 2 months of his career show back up for the Warriors. I just don't see it happening. But I think if it does happen, the Warriors will win in 7. That's going to be a long series. I think Denver is being very overlooked in the West. I think they're very good. It's interesting tonight. I bet like 500. What did I bet? 500 on Minnesota. I took the 2 favorites tonight, just for something to watch. I think Miami bounces back. Bulls had a tough game. Oh, you can't really expect OKC to have 2 big games in a row. I thought Minnesota really played well for most of that game, and they just got stagnant. Towns got in foul trouble. OKC just doesn't have like an Anthony Davis or some big guy to get them in foul trouble. I think Minnesota wins tonight. I think they win kind of easily, but who knows? I think Minnesota and Miami win tonight, and I think they win both pretty easily. But that's my opinion. I've been pretty locked in the NBA. I don't bet anything, but I always like pay attention. And in the last couple of weeks, I really kind of lock in, and I bet like 500 or 1,000 on some games just for fun. And I ended up going like 19-3 the last 2 weeks of the season. It is, whatever it is, what it is. Stupid ass Dallas Mavericks. If I would have known they were tanking, I would not. Those were my 3 losses. I thought they were like desperate to get in when they had Kyrie Irving. I didn't know they were tanking. So that was kind of my only 3 losses.
Let me double check that number.
Let me double check.
I haven't had any replies from him either.
You could call him too. Let me double check.
You can't take phone calls unless he's on Zoom.
Yeah, but I call him on my cell phone. Yeah, call him on the cell phone. Try to call that number on your cell phone. I mean, that's definitely the number he gave me.
I'm wondering, maybe I typed it in wrong. Can I just see it?
All right. So, yeah.
I got it right.
Yeah, just call him on your cell phone. Go in the other room real quick. Just from there, whatever. Yeah, so poker's been good. Looking forward for the World Series. I said last year was going to be my last full time at the World Series, and I'm definitely. I decided this year will be my last full time. I really want to have a good World Series, and we'll see what happens. I'm sitting with I'm just about out of debt, and had almost everybody paid off, and I'm doing really well. Pretty crazy. So I owed somebody some money from a transfer, and he asked me to transfer him Bitcoin, and this was like 2 a.m. Sunday night. So I transfer him like 29,000 in Bitcoin, and then I wake up 5 hours later and Bitcoin's up $2,500 a coin. So that cost me about $4,000 for 5 hours. I didn't wait. I've never been on the right side of a Bitcoin transfer yet. I waited and waited and waited. Was buying in, wanted to buy in for I wanted to wait for Bitcoin to go down. I finally bought 80K in Bitcoin at 40K a coin, and then of course goes all the way down to 16. I told everybody that I should take every quarter I have and just take it out of the bank and put it into Bitcoin, but I didn't. Only bought like 30,000 more, and of course it doubles. So I'm just never on the right side of the Bitcoin transfers. So I don't know what it is. Yeah, hopefully we get in the Hall of Fame this year. I mean, it's been like, this will be my 10th year on the ballot, in a row. So we'll see what
Hi.
happens. Yo.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. All right, everybody. So we got I Am Maverick. Eric Persson is here on the line. What's going on, my man?
Not much. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. I just opened up one of my Dragon and Tiger restaurants. I'm here with my friend Jet Tila, and I'm actually going to the airport. So
Oh, nice.
apologize
Nice.
for being a little late.
No, no problem. I just was wanted to make sure that I wasn't late because I know you're a busy man, and I wanted to get you on. Lots of things I want to ask you about, talk to you about. All my listeners want to ask you about. So, this one will make you laugh a little bit, and I want you to make it as funny as you can. But as you know, Phil Hellmuth's my best friend, and when you played him head up, like after you kicked the shit out of him, I got fucking nonstop call, crying. I can't believe he was so mean to me, blah, blah, blah. I go, how do you because supposedly, they're like, oh, that you're like you're a business person, you're not really a professional poker player. So, of course, I ripped into him. I'm like, how do you let an amateur get under your fucking skin? You're a professional. You've been doing this 36 years. And he was like, well, I just wasn't ready for it. So what was your plans going into that match? And is that what your plans were, to get under his skin and get him to fucking go crazy?
No, I mean the truth is, if you watch it from the beginning, it starts out cordially enough, but then Phil starts to needle him and just sort of be a little condescending, and it's really just not my nature to take that. And then I think from that moment, for me, it was just game on. And then once I realized how much I was affecting him, then I just have another fucking level as it comes to, like, to get under people's skin. So, it's just like a thing that comes naturally to me. Like, I've been married 16 years. I know how to laugh at inappropriate times, and I know how to, get people to do things they don't want to otherwise do, I suppose. And so Phil was just my bitch that day.
Yeah. I know how Phil could be condescending to people. He's like that to me a lot of times. And the thing about Phil is he's got a heart of gold, and I love him to death, but like he just gets so emotional, and he just thinks he could just talk any way to people and get away with it. And I guess he and listen, after the way he was after towards, he felt bad, and that's why he came in and shook your hand, and everything was good. But it was kind of funny, and a lot of people on my show who know how close I am to Phil, a lot of them are asking in the chat, like what, how you felt that day, and so I wanted to ask you about that. Now, a lot of people, and I have your back on this. They want, of course, that when they're not in the arena, they want to talk about hands, right? And in the big $1 million cash game, you lost the biggest pot of all time or whatever. And I always tell the people, my listeners, is if that card that rolled off wasn't an ace, you win the pot. You know what I'm saying? And they want to be so, well, what is he doing? Why is he running that big bluff? Walk that bluff through to the listeners and try and explain. Like I said, I had your back on it. If that turn is king, queen with a king of hearts, you just win the pot,
So I think what a lot of people don't understand is that Patrick and I are pretty good friends, and we play a lot of big cash games together.
Okay.
And historically, Patrick would tell you that I've had the best of Patrick. Mm-hmm. And because of the nature of, Patrick's a grinder. He's not like me. I'm playing 2 to 3 days a month of really high stakes games.
I played thousands of hours with him.
Yeah, 10 up to 10, 20,000. And so, but Patrick, meanwhile, is grinding all over the world, and he's playing PLO and he's playing mix, and so his play style is much more conservative. It's much more straightforward. It's a very, very successful play style. And so when Patrick made a raise like 125,000 on the flop, which was an odd raise to me, I decided that he had more likely had a pair than he had an ace. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking that from my perspective, I'm looking for any heart or any ace to come on that turn, and I'm going to fucking blast. And I was wrong, because he happens to have the one hand that's going to call every single time, ace, king of hearts, right? Yeah. And that was a super easy call. I'm actually drawing dead. And I didn't even think there's much scenarios at all where I'd ever be drawing dead, frankly, given the way the pre-flop action to the flop action was. But I was. And that's okay. And like the way I look at that hand is, I don't need to make that risk. I don't need to make that play in a capped buy-in game.
Correct.
If this game is just one of my big games where people are buying in 1 to 2 million each, it's just another hand, honestly. But because it's on TV, and because it's, there's a $600,000 side bet or overlay, and because I can't rebuy, and because I'm at over $1 million, I'm at $1,050,000 going into that hand, I don't need to risk my whole stack on a bluff with no pair. Look, I mean, Mike, the truth is I watched all of high stakes poker, and I've seen you play a lot of times. There's some similarities in our game. I'm sure both of us, we go back and there's hands we go, man, I didn't need to make that move. I didn't need to make that bluff attempt. Hindsight's always perfect vision.
Right.
But it's also the reason that I win the amount I win, because that aggression, as you know, you've been doing this a long time. There's very few people like me who are willing to make huge amount of the bluff for real money in that spot. And because it's one thing to do it in a 10-20 game or even a 1-200 game, but I did that for $1 million,
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty rare. And it's also what makes me pretty dangerous. So It's like two sides of the same coin. And in that hand, I'm just super wrong. And of course I have bet regret, but it's not because I hate the play. It's because in that particular position, I need to make that play.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was that about the 600,000 extra for the most money won. I didn't know it was a cap. I thought it was minimum of $1 million. Then you could buy in more. When I did hear that the fact that it was like a cap game, I totally understand where you're coming from. You don't need to take the high variance spot in that spot where there's plenty of other better spots. And so, like, I talk a lot of poker with even people who I play in my cash game with. There's a lot of people who are not that good at players that I kind of, we don't want like the live ones just losing infinite every day. So I kind of coach them up and I try and tell them, hey, you don't need to take that high variance spot. There's especially when somebody's tilting, you want to take you don't want to like give them a chance to get off tilt. You want to keep them on the straight and narrow. So, I totally understand, where you're coming from on that. I also, a lot of people wanted to ask about that, and I appreciate you commenting on that. I have a friend, I'm very, very good friends with Scott Seaver. He told me that you've been trying to learn mixed games and that you are the sweetest guy, the nicest guy. And I respect that. The fact that instead of jumping in a 40-80 game and learning mixed games, jumping in against the best players in the world, I mean, that's what I did. Like, I literally was a Hold'em player. And then I'm like, well, man, this Hold'em's boring. All I do is win. I got to learn these mixed games. I jumped in 2-400, 4-800 against the best in the world, got the shit kicked out of me. But guess what? It made me one of the best mixed game players in the world. So what's your thought on that? And why is that one of the reasons why you are playing mixed games?
Well, my story is a little different in that, I started playing, I put myself through undergrad and law school as a poker player. Mm-hmm. And I started in 92. And in 92, there was no limit Hold'em cash games. So I started with 5, 10, 7-card stud, high-low split stud, downtown, like these smaller games, 4A, 8-16. And so I played a lot of stud and stud derivatives for a long time. No limit Hold'em came, switched over, and I played that for a really long time. The truth is I started playing 3-6,000 in Seaver and Crux game, mainly because – funny story. I was just doing yoga with Phil Ivey, mm-hmm. and he was going in to play mix, and I just went with him. I sat down that day, and it was like it's me, Ivey, Crux, Seaver, Jungle, and Antonius, and Lyle Berman may not have been there, but like he's been there a lot, So
that's like the toughest lineup to play mix in history.
Yeah, and I'm sure Seaver told you like I won $1 million straight. So I won like 10 out of 11 days, and like. And so it's one of those games, as anything does, Mike, it sort of captures your attention, right? Because you're playing no limit all the time. And I'm playing for, real money, really big games with Roble. But like coming in and playing these 8 games mixed, it was just enjoyable. And, and actually, I don't know if people can understand the amount of pressure you're playing when you're playing really, really big cash games like this, like I am. In those mixed games, even though it's 3 and 6,000, they're capped, right? So, you can only lose, say, $60,000 like in any particular hand. So it actually is like way less pressure than in some of the
and
big games.
you don't have to watch everybody. You don't have to because basically you look at your cards, you know what you're looking for. You don't have to like no limit. I tell people all the time when I play a no limit hold'em tournament or I'm playing, it's like your eyes. You have to keep your eyes on everything you're watching. Where in the mixed game, it's like you could just shoot the shit, have fun with everybody because. In limit, you're so card dependent. It's a lot harder to steal pots in limit than it is in no limit. So, I get it.
And so you sit down and you got like 2, 3, 6 of diamonds in high-low split. You're like, we're fucking going to town. It doesn't matter about tells or anything else. Like in no limit, you're looking for just any little thing, and you're trying to avoid these huge mistakes, like the one we were talking about, like I made on that cap $1 million buy. Because there's devastation that can occur. There's no devastation in these mixed games. Like the worst that happens, you lose like 30, 40,000, whatever. Who cares? Like next hand.
Right.
And so it's fun for me, and also I enjoy. Like, Ivy and Tony's, they're friends of mine. Seaver and Kruk ended up starting to be friends of mine. And so big thing for me is, I enjoy the people I'm playing with. And, when I was young and I was a grinder, like I let out the door to play with whoever because I just had to win and I had to pay my mortgage and but I'm not in that spot right now. Really what I'm trying to do, and the people don't always understand, I'm building a brand. I own a bunch of casinos. It's Maverick Gaming. I'm getting my name out there. We're building something real. And so I use streaming as the most efficient way to show that I'm an authentic gambler and it's an authentic gambler's brand. And that's what Maverick Gaming is, so I'm not looking for finding the very smallest edge and getting that game. I'm streaming for a purpose, or I'm playing these high stakes games. I want to be around people I like. And that's a great privilege I have. And there's some terrible players when I see that I just don't fucking play. 20 years ago, I'd hope they show up even if I don't like them. But I'm in a different spot now, So when I got those guys playing mixed, they're all people I enjoy being around. Makes my life fun.
That's a really good point. I tell people this all the time. Like I've been doing this 26 years, right? And going to a casino and having to, because I'm really good in mix. I play all games good, and they don't let me in private games, and so it's like a big battle to. So, who's cocky suck to get in a private game so you could make money and like it's really not a fun world. And when you're able to, and I tell people this all the time, and I'm blessed, knock on wood, that I am in a good private game and I'm able to play with good people, enjoy myself. We needle each other. We have fun because, the poker world, and this straight out, is not what it's set up to be. You have a small group of people that are really nice people, and then everybody else is out to fucking, they want your fucking money. They're hustlers. They're doing whatever they can to get in games. And a lot of them are really rude, and so Phil always gets mad at me when I say, there's so much of the poker world's so scummy, and he'll be like, oh no, they're not. They're all so nice, and I'm like, Phil, you haven't had to grind in 20 years. I'm like, you could get in any private game and you're always hooked up with 9 nice people, And so that's, kind of like the disconnect, kind of like Phil was not really in reality. It's kind of like somebody who's real rich and doesn't pay attention to what's going on with the working class people in the world, It's like when you're out of touch with reality, sometimes you got to get them back in touch, And I was talking with Ryan. I'm like, I told him I was going to have you on the show today, and I'm like, he seems like a really nice guy, and he's gambling high, and he's trying to get his brand out. You get 50,000 people watching your brand that are gamblers, right? And then that leads to other people, mainstream media people, hands come up or whatever, and then it's probably pretty cheap advertisement for you, especially if you're breaking even or winning, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of these things that it's what made the most amount of sense. It's how I was going to build a real company the fastest. And the reason you do it, Mike, is that I go out and I buy these casinos, and I buy them for 7 to 8 times multiples. Mm-hmm. And if I build a brand that has more meaning than just the assets in the aggregation, because they're actually, Maverick Gaming means something to a purchaser, I'll get more like 10x. So I can make $300-400 million just by building a real brand. Right. It's the exact same consumer product. And that's what I'm doing. And so, I'm blessed in that I was a professional player for 8 years. And then I went to Georgetown Law. and then I had my career in gaming, and now I'm coming back into the world, and the biggest thing that I had expressed, which I think is an extension of what you're talking about, is young poker goals are, because what happens is you're trained, you go out and you play 2-5 and you beat it, then you beat it, you play 10-20, then you beat it, all the way to 1. But unless you are able to help people understand what you bring to the game besides your poker skill, you will cap yourself at 1-200. You will never get in the private games that I'm playing in. You'll never be sitting with like a Mr. Beast or Kevin Hart or the people that I play with. You go down the list of all Neymar, like whatever we want to talk about. Yeah. Like people want me in those games, and it's because one, they think that I'm fun. So I have a skill set I bring beyond my poker. Two, they might think there's an edge. They know I'm aggressive. They've seen me, make mistakes. I'm a winning poker player, but the reality is I bring more to the table than just my poker skill set. And you have to do that. And a young poker player has to think about what are they bringing to the table beyond their bankroll and their poker skill, because if they aren't careful, they'll be those miserable motherfuckers you're talking about, Mike. They're just stuck in that mid-level. They're never rich. They're never poor, but they're grinding every fucking day, and there's nothing else they can do because they're trapped. Right. And that's the people we're really talking about. Those are people that are trying to hustle and scam and beat you and look for any tiny fucking edge, and they see, oh my God, this game's soft. Let me go get a backer, and I'm going to take my shot. It's like, you don't want to be that guy for 30 years, Mike. You've been playing 27 years on this. You don't want to be that motherfucking grinder, because it's not a happy road. No. And when you're young, you're happy to play 400 hours a month. Yeah. 20 years. So you need to start thinking right now how you're going to be able to make that leap, because the games you're playing are amazing. Probably the biggest games in the world. I don't know, but I know in North America I'm going to them. But whether it's Houston or wherever.
Hang on, Eric. I'm getting bad
Yeah.
reception. I don't know. You're kind of breaking up. Hold on a second.
It says he's in a spot where his bandwidth is low.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, it says you're in a spot where your bandwidth is low. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay, no big deal. So I understand this, and I'll go back to when I won NBC Head Up in 2013. There were so many of the top players crying, Mike Madison shouldn't even be he's terrible at Head Up, blah blah blah. And then when me and Phil ended up Head Up, they're like, oh, the two worst players are Head Up, blah 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 blah. Right? Everybody wants to talk shit because they can't get an invite to that show, right? And it's the same what kind of you're talking about. With the streams, I can literally go and play on any stream in the country. Why? I'm pretty nitty tight. I don't give a lot of action, when I'm playing on high stakes streams. Why? I make everybody happy. I make them laugh. I make fun of the right people. I make funny jokes, and people, they know me for years. They want to see me. They want to see, is Mike Madison going to blow up like he used to, And so there's a lot to the table, and I don't want to name names or say bad about other people, but there's certain names that are in the poker world that are out there, saying bad things about you, saying bad things about me, saying bad things about, like Airball or whatever. And the truth of the matter is, I say, listen, buddy, nobody wants to watch a GTO robot that doesn't say a word go and be on a stream, and then Justin Bonomo tweeted out the other day, well, when you watch the chess matches, you got the top chess people, nobody's talking, they're all focusing on, that's great, but this is chess doesn't attract thousands of people to a stream, you want to be on a stream, you got to bring something beside perfect poker skills. The only ones that want to watch top poker players play against each other are other poker players, because they want to see what they're doing, But other than that, it's like Maury told me years ago, this is reality television, okay? We're here to make a television show that attracts viewers. And you're one of those people that attract viewers, and I get it. And trust me, when I go on a show and I tell myself, I only want to risk this much today. Am I going to play fast? You see what the table gives you. I played at Hustler late January, and on day 2, everybody was playing tight. I was raising. I had the highest VPIP on the table. Like last time I had the highest VPIP was probably 2006, but I've been working on my game a lot, playing a lot of No Limits. So, I understand the game. I understand you have to get the viewers engaged, and the grinders just that they don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things I just add to that. One is for people who think that poker is purely about your overall capability, your memorization of GTO charts, your execution against blockers. What I'll say to those guys is you can't beat the big game if you're not fucking in it. And you're not in the big game. So you're doing something wrong. So you think you're doing things right, but what you're really doing is capping yourself. If you're putting yourself out there as this technical expert, go ahead, buddy. But you're just going to be playing online, grinding, and you're never going to be in the games I'm in. Yeah. The second thing is I do get 30,000 views when I go on Hustler. And you put me with one of my friends, Patrick or Phil, or just we're going to crush it. And the truth is I do set my lineups and I do control who I play with. And the people that I stream with all have to VPIP minimum 35%. Yeah. And that's because I don't want snipers. Yeah. And I don't want people buying in shallow while Alan Keating and I come in $500,000 each and they're just trying to take their shot. Because the whole table's gambling, doing 35, then nobody has a disadvantage. Yeah. And so, I do protect myself. And that also then creates an environment where the other people that I play with, they want to play on those streams because we're all gambling together. Yeah. And so people think, you're trying to force people to play different games. You got to understand, streaming is entertainment. People don't want to see motherfucking nits, VPIP and 18%, playing, 4 hands an hour. And, they're profitable. I'm not saying it's the best, they don't have a winning strategy. They do, but they don't have the best streaming strategy and they won't get the most views. And so, I don't apologize for that shit at all. I do set my lineups and you do got to be VPIP 35 or you're not playing with me. Tough shit. Go play some other game.
Exactly. And listen, a lot of times my VPIP's around like 20%, but they know that. And so I have to, if I'm VPIPing, if I'm playing somewhat tight, I know I have to bring something else to the table. If I can't make every one of those 8 people bust up laughing at some point of the night where they say, I love you, Mike, you're so fun. You know what I'm saying? You got to bring something. You know what I'm saying? If you're not going to, and so I tell people this all the time, and so even Phil, he tells me, I'm kind of depressed. Everybody wants to watch Keating play, and they don't really. I used to be the one that everybody want to watch it the most, right? And so, you made a great point. And the thing is Phil, nobody wants to watch you buying a 1-200 game with 10K, and then get down to 4K and grind a little stack. And this isn't, you're a great, tournament player where tournaments are always 50 big blinds or less, and so. You get him to buy in deeper, and we all know what happened. He played absolutely terrible, and I give Phil a lot of credit for coming up and saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy in for what I want from now on," and hey, even though he won't admit publicly that I was out of my comfort zone and I played like shit, he'll say oh, well, I want to buy in. It's what I want to do, whatever, But when somebody that is, when someone who's somewhat narcissistic and very egotistical and so proud, it's like Daniel Negreanu said to me. He goes, I don't understand, Phil. It's not enough that he's got the all-time bracelet, title. Nobody's probably ever going to beat that. He has to wants to be the best in everything. Well, if you want to be the best in everything, and I tell him this all the time, put the work in. I work hard to improve my no limit game. My no limit game is probably better than it was in 2005 right now. But I put a lot of time into it, a lot of thought process into it. I listen, I call some of the top players in the game, people that are crushing, and I ask them for advice, something I would never have done 15 years ago, And what do you have to do to be able to do that? You have to realize to yourself, hey, I want to get better. What am I missing? What do I need to do to that you feel like if I tell, there's a couple of really top players I'm kind of working with, what's going on in my game? What do they feel I need to do to get to that higher level because my intuition is as good as it's ever been. I know when they have it, I know when they don't. And I just need to see what happened to me back in 2007, 2006 is Russ Hamilton, they were cheating me on ultimate bet. And so they were seeing my whole cards. So all of a sudden I went from the most aggressive player that knew when they didn't have it and I was bluffing all the time to I was scared to put a chip in because I was getting called with third pair, fourth pair, no pair, and they scammed me out of $1 million, you know? So it took me like, it took me 5 years to even start to begin to pull the trigger again. And it's taken me like till 2019. So you're talking about 12 years to where I'm really, really back to just pulling the trigger and going with my instincts. But people don't understand when somebody's seeing your cards and every time you pull the trigger, you're called, you're like, you get gun shy. You're like, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah. I mean, like, I can. The first thing I'd like to say is like when I was playing Phil Heads Up, the thing that annoyed me the most was he was putting himself out there as if he was a great deep stack, no limit player. And the reality is he just isn't. And then he's belittling me, saying I'm playing some 10-20 game at the Bellagio, and I'm like, I know games I'm playing, and I know that he's not in these games, and so it's like, you know, that's why I pushed him so hard to buy in deep, you know? And the truth is I gave him a shit ton of credit because that's not his game. And for him to come out and say, I'm going to switch and then I'm going to go back and I got to play my game and get back to where I'm comfortable, which is the essence of what he said. I think it's just really smart.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people might just ruin themselves versus, you know, humbling themselves.
Yeah.
Back to what's successful for them. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Because the truth is,
Yeah. He's at the airport now. He might be right.
Yeah.
really, I have a deep stack cash game, high limit player. That's what I do.
Yeah.
For real amounts of money, winning or losing $1 million or $2 million in a night, and I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not great at all games, and nobody probably is. And some people are just better than most. Like Ivy can, I guess he's God.
Yeah.
He can
Ivy was the best in all the games. Like between if you put the cash games with the tournaments and all the games, I mean, he was the best I'd ever seen, and I've played with all the best. So you know, and he had a downside. You know, he had a really struggling time in 2018. You know, and he's bounced back, and he's back playing at a real high level. And it's even like I told Phil yesterday. You know, I told him, you know, I don't like the way you're playing. You know, I don't like the way you played the big cash games. I don't like the way you've been playing like in other games we've been in. And, you know, then his answer is, well, I just won a U.S. Poker Open and got fifth. Oh, well, big fucking deal. I mean, just because a basketball player puts up 50 one day and 40 the next, and then fucking goes 1 for 10 the next 8 days. You need to figure out why are you going 1 for 10 in the 8 days, not what did you win just now. You see what I'm saying? And I know Phil's game better than anybody because we're such close friends. And I said to him straight out, you know, last night we were having a talk, and he's in Japan, or he's actually in Korea right now. And I said, you know, the World Series is coming up in 6 weeks. You need to figure out why 8 of those 10 days, the 2 that you didn't crush, you played like shit. That means something is going on mentally, something is off, or whatever. So it's like when I have a losing session, right? And I don't know if you do the same as I do, but I analyze all the hands I lost. What could I have done differently? Could I have gotten away from that hand? How did I play it? What sizing did I put out there that was wrong, that he called me on a bluff? Or what sizing did I put out there that was wrong, that he folded when I had a big hand? And that's how I think every day. Do you do that a lot with after your sessions are over?
Yeah. So the way my poker life works is I'm playing 2 to 3 days a month of really high stakes games.
Okay.
And so when you do that, Mike, you really do stew on your thought processes and your games. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in a really, really big game where the blinds were 2,000 and 4,000, but it was playing more like a 8-16 game. And well, I think this will be interesting to a lot of people because they never get exposure to it. Like the way these private games work is we play defined times. So we started that particular day on a Saturday at 12:30, and we were playing until 1:30 at night. So we're playing 13 hours. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of social pressure. People like me, I got to play through the game. Now there's certain people who come in and they're just, you know, they're there to have fun and they're going to come in and they're going to come out. But like, I'm part of that core group that really has to start the game and finish the game. And so I'm in this spot where I'm up $1.2 million, Mike, with 10 minutes to go. It's like 120. 10 fucking minutes ago, I'm up 1.2 million. I look down my hand and I'm playing with two top rows and I have kings and I make it comes out 16,000. One pro makes it 75. I call the 75. I'm in the middle. Another pro now makes it 4.
Make a slow. You got
kings.
Hold on. Say it again. Yeah, I mean you're having a really bad connection. So you made it 75.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go real slow. It's you're in a bad spot.
He might be running low on time because he's at the airport. I opened up the phone lines, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I don't hear you at all. I've almost lost you here. Should we?
We lost him.
We lost him.
He'll probably try to come back.
Okay. Yeah.
But I did open the lines. Let me just play the phone call intro.
Yeah. We'll get the phone calls. 702-329-0480.
Am I back?
Hey, okay, hold on one second. We're going to open you could try and finish that story up. We're going to open the phone lines. We're going to take a few phone calls. People want to talk to you, ask you some questions, and then we'll let you on your merry way. So you were saying that you opened for 16,000, got re-raised to 75, and well, let's take this phone call. Hold on one second. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike. You're on with me and Eric Persson.
Hey, Mike. This is Sam. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
Good. I just wanted to run something by you. I mean, you realize that the stakes you guys play are so high. You've got to realize that there got to be not just a couple of guys colluding in these big private games, but I've seen dealers that can deal you literally anything they want at any time. I mean, they're that good.
Listen, I know what you're talking about, but and Eric will tell you that that's why they pick who's in the game and they know they make sure everything kind of pure. You could comment on that, on how you know your game's secure when you play in these big games, Eric. Yeah,
so here's what happens, and honestly, this is all part of life experience. And so, what you're hearing, I think, through this caller is it's not that collusion and cheating doesn't exist in private games. It does, and if we were to go to a lot of different places in LA, there's going to be all kinds of stories.
Yep.
But in the games I'm playing, they're guaranteed by people who have a stellar reputation for a very, very long time.
Right.
And we're very, very discerning on who gets into those games. One of the reasons I'm able to play in this game is because I have the bankroll to withstand losses. I'm viewed as someone who can play for the long haul. New players hadn't come into this game at my level like in 4 years. And so someone else dropped out, stopped playing, just whatever. I came into that game. And then the recreational players, the people who come in, you know, they're not they certainly be part of the collusion because they're not playing regularly. So the people I'm playing with, I know for sure these games are on the up and up. Yeah. I have a very, very high degree of confidence because the people that I'm playing with, and frankly, Andrew Roble is one of them.
No,
I'll tie my reputation to him. I believe 100%. I think Mike, I'm sure you'll say
he's
the
a good
same
friend
thing.
of mine. Andrew Roble we came up together. He's one of the greatest humans you'll ever meet.
That's right. And so anything he's touching, I'm in the game with him. So it's not like, you know, I'm taking the advice of someone going to some random game. I'm playing with people who I know. They have way more at stake than just that one game. I know $1 million seems like a lot, but you got to understand we're doing this every month, and we're doing this with very wealthy people. And they don't feel like the $1 million is so much. I think they really enjoy playing with us. The conversations are different. These are people who are very, very successful in their business life. Frankly, I find the conversation super interesting.
Right.
You know, some of them are they're titans in the industries that they're good at, you know, and just being around those people, I think there's a lot of value, frankly, that I take just from those games and the conversations I have with them. And so while it feels like it's a lot of money, there's no chance, I would say, in the games that I'm playing in, that there's collusion or theft or rigged games.
I believe
because it would just one catch it would be destroyed forever, right, Mike? Like,
Yeah.
you can't withstand that. It
Yeah.
would end you.
And listen, I've had people in our games where I've felt like, you know, like even on an online game that someone was ghosting. I could, because like, listen, when you're playing 26 years like I have, I mean, something, you know how everybody plays. You play with the same people every day. We all fall into patterns. We kind of, even though we try not to fall into patterns, you know, all of a sudden somebody's playing differently. You just feel it, you know it, you know. And so we've been able to, that's only happened a couple times in the last 3 years, and we were able to weed them out, you know. But yeah, so I understand what you're saying. So, but yes, you definitely, what you're saying, there is a lot of cheating going on. You just got to be, he's involved in games where he knows he doesn't have to worry about it, and so am I. So
Yeah, and frankly, I play with a lot of the same people over and over.
Question, okay?
go ahead, sir.
He's playing 1,000 big blinds deep. Say he's got playing 1 million behind. This guy plays the biggest of the big. Would you call a raise, a re-raise, and an all-in with 1,000 big blinds with kings? And you know you probably up against aces. Would you do it?
It's weird you're asking me that question, because that's actually the story I was talking
go ahead.
about.
You were in the middle of that story. Go ahead and tell that story.
So we're playing 4,000, and I make it a 16. It gets raised by a pro to 75. I make the call to 75, and another pro makes it 425,000. He's playing $1 million. So he bets 42% of his stack. I look down. There's 10 minutes to go in this game, Mike. I can just fold out. I'm going to make $1 million too that night, you know, and that's pretty sweet. And I look down at these fucking kings, and my wife's with me, and I think telepathically she's saying fold. You're up $1 million too.
This is what we were talking about, high variance late in the game. Yeah, go ahead.
But I look down at kings and I go, you know what, my man that I'm playing with, he can easily have ace king here, and there's a chance he has queens, and yeah, he could have aces. I make the call, comes 10 high flop, and I call off the last 575. So the thing, I can easily that fold, I can defend it. I can easily make that one, I can defend it. And it's just like one more hand in a series of hands. Yeah. And you can debate whether I.
Did he have I can't. You're coming in and out again. Did he have aces? Did he have aces? Yeah.
My man Eddie had aces.
Yeah.
He had aces.
Yeah.
I lost it. You know, and also. I knew they'd probably run it twice, and it was actually, he's like, do you want to run it twice? Because when it gets over $1 million, I like to run things once, but I ran it twice, and I lost both boards, and it sort of is what it is, you know?
Yeah. You know, that you know, we were just talking about that earlier about, you know, hey, it's late in the night. Happened to me the other night, you know, like I raised with ace, queen of clubs, and there was like 6 hands to go. Another guy called, I 3 bets, and I know the play is a big 4-bet. He was tilted, he was stuck, but I'm like, oh, we have 6 hands to go. I'm up like almost 20K, you know, to $75 a round in blinds, and you know, if I 4-bet there, I'm going to win the pot, but he has 10-3 of spades, right? And the point is, and then he gets stuck more, and then he wants the game to continue, but which kind of sucked because I was just folding out because there were 6 more hands to go, you know. And I know that's not the way to play poker, you know. But you also, when you got a nice win booked, you know, you don't want to lose big on that lot with 6 hands to go. And this is kind of what we were talking about, taking a high variance like you did with the bluff hand and kind of like here. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think, Mike, a lot of people don't understand that when you're playing this plan, but you're looking 2 or 3 days a month. Yeah. You know, I think there's actually a stronger argument maybe just to pull out, because it's going to be 3 weeks before you play again. You're going to be thinking about it.
Right.
It's on your mind the whole time. It's not like when you're grinding every day and you just pick a win the next day and forget the night before. Like, I got 20 days of going, should I just let that fucking shit go?
Yeah. And you were probably so angry.
No torture.
Yeah. Okay, we have another caller. Hey, welcome to the Mouthpiece. You're talking with Mike and Eric. Who's this?
Hey, Mikey, this is Chris.
Hey, Chris, how's it going, my man?
Good. So I fit the profile that Eric was talking about for the online grinder, you know, grinding my mid-stakes a lot, hoping to get into some of these juicy games. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, I don't think once getting in the games, it's too hard to provide value, but the hardest thing is getting your foot in the door in these games.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, You got to do something. You got to decide. I mean, they're not. Nobody's going to let an online pro that plays perfect into a private game unless you bring something to the game. So you're either going to have to, let's just say, get in a game and play crazy for the first 2 weeks where you lose a couple 100,000 and they think you're a lunatic, and then you win back 500, or, you got to bring something, with personality wise. If not, you're just never going to get in. It's just,
I understand that. It's just the getting in to even have the chance to lose that money is the problem, right? Because a lot of us online grinders, we look a certain way, right? We're 20 to 30 something, and we kind of have this aura about us. Even when we just sit down at the table, people can see it, right?
Well, my advice to you is, and this is what I would do, is get a social media, start twitching your live games, play super aggro and a little bit crazy, and you could win at poker playing fast. Okay, I mean, I've done it many times, and people see, hey, look at that guy at Twitch, man. Look at how he's playing, and he's awesome. He's winning this. You got to get your name out there. Landon Tice got his name out there. He's 22 years old, and I played high stakes poker with him about a year ago. I'm like, who are you? How'd you get on here? And they were like, well, he's got this hot, big social media following. So, that's just my advice. I mean, if you're just, you just got to get yourself out there. Like nobody knew who Eric was a year ago. He kind of got on the stream and brought a lot of money and played pretty fast, and people loved watching him play. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've actually done that myself. I have a Twitch stream, and I've started to build a following on Twitter and YouTube.
Well, yeah.
So that's the route that I've begun to take. But I was actually curious if Eric's still on the line.
He's here.
What kind of advice he would have, making that transition. Is there something specific that you would start to try and do?
Yeah, there actually is. I'll give you specific applied advice that I think is real, but if you do it, you'll have.
Damn it. Did we lose him again?
Yeah, he's dropping in and out because he's driving around.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
He's coming back now.
All right. Repeat that, Eric. Well, we don't have you right now. Hold on a second. We'll get you in a better.
Sounded like he was going to give us the golden ticket.
Yeah.
And then he cut out.
Yeah. You there, Eric?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric. I think we can
Here's
hear
what
you.
I would do. Here's what I would do. Build your bangle, but you need yourself over time. Have VPEP of 35%. But you get a successful poker player at 35. And you're going to proceed gambling. You're going to have a lot more opportunity to do things than when you're in the high 18, low 20s. Very profitable.
Yeah. Hold on. We're not getting you in here, Eric. Hold on a second. Do you want to call him and just not have him on the Zoom so we have a direct call?
We can't do phone calls.
Oh, we can't. Okay.
We have him on the
All right.
phone.
Hold on a second. Eric, you there?
No, he disconnected again.
Yeah. All right.
I can hop off the phone if you want to call him directly
okay.
to get the answer.
No, well, I'll have him answer for you. We'll get him back on, and I appreciate the phone call. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, bye bye. Anyways, Eric, are you there? No, such a good podcast, such good info here. We'll get him back on here in a second. That sucks. But yeah, this is it's all good, man. Eric, you there? Is he connected yet or no?
No.
Well, we'll try and get Eric back here. Phone lines are working. He's just driving around because he's on his way to the airport, and it's not me. It's him driving around on the way to the airport. So I can't do anything about it when you're driving around and you're going in and out. So, it is what it is. We're going to try and get Eric back on here. And hopefully be able to take some questions and see what happens here. Can you connect him back up, or do you have to call him, or what?
He keeps trying to come back in, but his connection's just not good enough.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see what happens here. And if worse comes to worse, we'll have to continue this at another time. But anyways, yeah, so, I know that Eric was, a lot of people ask, like, oh, he's buying it for $1 million, he's gambling, oh, he's going to lose all this money, blah, 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 blah. And what people need to understand is Mom, I'm doing a podcast, I'll call you back. People need to understand is he gets 30, 40,000 people on a stream. It's a lot of people. You got 7 casinos. You're when you're in that part of town where there's a casino and you want to go play poker or something.
We got him back.
All right, we got him. Eric, you're back.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay, so
guys.
go ahead and answer it. The guy's not on the phone anymore, but give the advice that you were going to give.
Essentially, you got to play more hands, and you got to have a higher variance game than what you've been trained to do online, because it's the most profitable path.
Yeah.
You have to be able to show that you're able to gamble and engage, and by doing so, I think is the quickest path. Truthfully, the most successful way is to do what I did. I put myself through undergrad law school, played poker, stepped away from the game for a long time, came back as a businessman, and then got a lot of exposure through the games I'm playing, and then obviously the game with Phil just lit shit on fire. And I had just filmed 5 episodes of high stakes poker that aired sequentially right after that, and so that really amplified me. But to me, I think one of the biggest things, what this person's expressing is a very common expression. It's like, I found myself capped. I can't get in private games. I can't get in bigger games. No, you never will, because the thing that you thought made you so successful is actually what limited you.
Right.
And it got you so far, but it's never going to get you to the next level. And it's be dishonest if I said otherwise. You have to gamble. You have to bring something to the table. The things you're talking about, Mike, conversational. Like, Neymar wanted to play with me because he saw me on YouTube.
Right.
Can't make that up, And it's not that Neymar's like a top-rated pro or something. He thought it'd be fun, you know. And so you have to. If you can have that, it really helps. I know Daniel went on, and there's this conversation about, do you have to, be engaging as a poker player? I think that sort of depends. Like, not if you're an online grinder or a cash game player, but if you want to stream, then yeah, man, this is entertainment. Yeah. And if you don't bring something to the table besides your game, you'll never be in that game.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%, So we'll wait for another caller to call in, but let's switch subjects real quick to the $1 million cash game that was just announced on HCL right before 3 days before the World Series. I didn't quite see exactly who's in it. I know you're in it. Who are the players that are in it, and what is the structure going to be about?
Well, I mean, that's a 501,000 game with 1,000 ante, and I have tentatively agreed to play in this game, and it's 3 days, and lineups aren't totally solidified, and there's a bunch of names out there that you can see on Twitter, and a lot of them are a combination of people who play Hustler often, and
right.
One's Mickey, who I don't know, he's a gambler or whatever, and and people are wondering if Alan Keating's going to get in the game, and Alan and I are close. And he's very, very particular in his lineups. And so if Ryan's able to deliver a lineup that makes sense to Alan, I'm sure Alan and I will definitely be playing one of those days. And it does get back to the stuff we were talking about earlier. I'll play a much wider variety of lineups than Alan will. Alan, because he VPIPs an insane level, 90% plus, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's very, very he wants to make sure that he's playing with other people who are absolutely gambling it up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm very good friends with Alan. He's I consider him one of the very classiest persons in poker, and you know, he invites me to all, you know, even though he knows I'm a lot tighter, he invites me to games a lot of times because, you know, he loves me and all, but it always says, Mike, we're playing 50, 100 tonight. It's a small game. Come on over. Okay, I'll come. All of a sudden it's 50, 100, 200, 400, 800 straddle. And it's funny. And I'll be like, or I'll call Phil on the phone. I'm like, Phil, want to take half of me in this game? or something like crazy, you know? But I'm like, we're going to need, I remember one time I said to Phil, I'm like, we're going to need a bigger boat, you know? Yeah. But, you know, we have a good time, and I really enjoy, you know, playing with. Listen, so many of the people that you've talked about are people that I consider in top echelon of poker players. You know, people that you really, really, really know that are you just enjoy playing with. You know, if you win, you lose, you don't care because these are just people you want to play with. You know, so.
There's no doubt about it. And the truth is when Alan, myself, and Hanks are in a game, like the starting blinds are irrelevant because it's going to be it's going to have 4 straddles minimum. Like, and you're going to be calling each other with 4th pair. Like, these games are fucking crazy. And I don't think people can totally understand. I made this hand where I called Hanks for 800,000 with a pair of kings on like a ace high board and 3 flush out there. And it's like, they're like, oh, that's an amazing call. And I'm like, you just don't understand. There's just no folds. Like, I have a pair of kings and there's no folds. And like, you know, and it's just because the amount of volatility we put in that action, which is why it's sane of you to want to sell, right, when you get in these spots, because it's just huge variance. Right. We're really fucking gambling. And I enjoy that. And Alan's very protective and he enjoys that. Yeah. And that's what people want to see, you know? And so
you said something earlier in the show and I so agree with this. And I've been like back in like up until let's just say 2005 where I was a gambler. Like I bet everything. I gambled on everything. I played anybody head up. I fucking just played the biggest game and I had no repercussions, you know, about going broke. It just didn't matter to me, you know. And so, you know, you get older and shit, and when poker's your only income, you know, you got to be careful. I got broke 9 times, so you know, I'm a little bit more careful now. But the one thing that you said, and I've told people this all the time, in No Limit Hold'em, he who holds the money holds the power. It doesn't matter if you're in a game and you're playing with $1 million. And everybody else is bought in for 300,000-400,000, and if they lose that 300,000-400,000, it bothers them. You will be able to put infinite pressure on them, and you're just always going to win. And people don't understand that. It has nothing to do with your talent level. Okay? Listen? As good as Garrett used to play, why did Garrett win all the time? Because he had everybody covered all the time. If he lost 3 or 4 pots, he only had to win 1. You know. And so he who has the money has the power. You agree with that, right?
I mean, that's the reality I am that I is obviously a top echelon pro, and I played thousands of hours with him, and that's what makes me so dangerous because he's seen enough hands where I can hold 3. It's like a 3-paired board, and if he has any holding other than the holding he has, he's going to fold out because he's sane and because he's grinding, he's going to do it again. When you can really fire that bullet, so when people want to criticize and talk shit, until you fired $1 million bullet, you really should shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because there's very few people in the world, and I know it because I'm there, who fire that $1 million bullet for cash.
The biggest bullet I ever fired was 240,000, but I also had the flop was King 9-9 and I had pocket kings. Have I ever fired a $250,000 empty chamber? No, but I fired 100,000 empty chamber before. You know, I get it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when I fired that with no pair, two hearts.
Yeah. Gosh damn it!
Because if you're wrong, you're playing for all of it. I'm gonna reload.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reload. And so many of these people at those levels in particular,
Uh,
I want Robbie on this. I think all three of us, we have money. I think
Unfortunately, Eric, I'm losing you again. I'm for some reason you're not coming in. Are you? Where are you flying to? Are you flying private or are you flying commercial?
and
I
I
can't.
just
Yeah. I just can't hear you at all. This really sucks.
Yeah, he dropped out again.
Yeah.
He was pulled over there for a little while.
Yeah. It just kind of really sucks. This is a really good insight. I wanted to have some extra questions to him. Because it seems like lately, whenever I have a guest on, something's wrong with their Wi-Fi or something, I don't know. It kind of sucks. But see if we can get him back one more time.
We got him
Oh, you're
I'm
back.
here.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's all right, man. And
Shit.
so like I tell people all the time, I always look back at, back in 2003, Freddie D wanted to sit down with me and play me head up, null, and hold 'em, and he bought in for like at the time like it was probably like his case money. He was always in and out of a lot of money, and I just would just put infinite pressure on him where I was just robbing him and robbing him and robbing him because I could tell like he was playing on low amount of money at the time and he was trying to win. And when you're up against somebody that's playing scared money, they just can't win and null them and hold them. They just can't.
No, unless they get dealt the nuts, like
Yeah.
it's just too important. Every decision in No Limit can be infinitely important,
Right.
And I'm always going to reload, and that's the pressure that I'm able to put on people
Mm-hmm.
that separates me from a lot of players who want to talk about they're technically stronger or
Yeah.
they're whatever it is. I'm stronger on the bankroll. So let's start there.
I got one question for you because I have watched you a few times and I know you like to talk a lot in hands. Have you found yourself where you talk too much and where you're trying to make them fold and they end up calling and you say to yourself, fuck, why did I say what I like you say a certain word that you shouldn't have said? Because that's happened to me before. Has it happened to you a lot or
I've been playing for a long time, and that's a pure art form. And I've turned over the wrong card.
I remember that. The hand where you turned over where what's his name had a flush, Hanks. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, absolutely, it's made me way more money than it's ever cost me, but mistakes absolutely happen. And you have to be so dialed in on their perception and hand range and you have to be accurate in what their holdings are, and I think people who played a long time end up getting pretty good at that. But, I've absolutely made mistakes. And the second you do it, you're like, fuck, what did I just do? And that hurts.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I got Garrett to pay me $6,000, turn over a card. He had ace queen high and then paid me another 65,000 after.
I remember that.
Card. So,
yeah. I don't watch much poker, but like I do remember there's like a few hands that I did watch that you were in. I remember that. I remember the Hank's hand. And, I always think about like, because I'm Mike the Mouth. That's what I used to do. I used to talk a lot of shit. I used to, talk people into calm, talk me into folding. And so, when I'm with people that do talk, right, I say, talk to me, right? I always, because my brain is like wired to listen for something that I know people don't understand what I'm saying. Maybe you do, but like it's wired. Like I'm listening for a certain word that comes out. And then it links up with my brain and it'll tell me to fold or it'll tell me to call. And so like, there's a lot of times I'll be like I have a really good friend, my friend Louise, Brazil God. I don't know if you ever played with him, and he loves to talk during the hand and talk people into folding when he has the nuts, or when he has nothing, pop people into calling when he has the nuts. And so I always, I'm be like, talk to me, Louise, talk to me, and I'm because I play so many hours with him, I'm just looking something like I can't explain it, but like when I get him talking, like a certain word will pop out that'll like calibrate with like when he didn't have it before or when he did have it, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, okay, I fold, or okay, I call, and like I've been right against him like 90%. He's, oh, you've just been lucky. You've been lucky, you know. No, I haven't been lucky. My brain syncs up when I get you talking, and I'm just wondering, is there anybody that when you start that you told yourself, oh, I better not talk because this guy seems to know when I talk when I have it or I don't. Does that come across at all to you?
Yeah, I think it's gone a couple different ways. Like I've been able to confuse Garrett a lot, and I think he'd tell you the same thing. And it's not me really talking shit or anything. It's just the reality of the games we played, and he just can't get a good read on me, and it's really frustrating for him. And I think we have a lot of fun playing with each other, and so there's that way. And then there's other times when I'm playing with certain people, and it's just to my benefit not to talk. Like my wife's sitting right here, and who do you any people off the top of your head that's like a better I just don't talk through? I think like
sometimes the mother,
like this is embarrassing, and I can't believe I'm going to say this on stream. And he's a friend of mine, but somehow when JRB's 3 bottles in, he understands Eric speak.
Wow!
And
wow!
JRB!
Oh my God!
I don't know why. It's really fucking painful for me to have to say that.
Oh my God! Losing hands to JRB, that's like the most painful thing in poker, right?
Well, it's like the other day, a high stakes poker episode aired, and he had quads, and I paid him off $12,000 into an $80,000 pot. And I asked him, "Do you have quads here?" And then he only bet 12, so I called it. And you have to think of it as more of a loan. So if you give JRB, it's okay to make the overcall because he ain't like he's gonna run off with the money. You don't know this story, but a lot of people on my show that have heard this story before. But my greatest JRB story is 2003 at the Commerce. Right, he was broke, but I made him a $10,000 bet. Like, okay, if he wins the bet, he gets paid $10,000. If he loses the bet, he just owes it to me, and he would always pay whatever. Okay, so we made a bet. He had to do that. He couldn't do 20 push-ups. This is like 4 in the morning at the Commerce. We clear out. He starts doing 1, 2, 3, 4. He's like up. He's cruising 15, 16, 17. I'm like, oh fuck! This motherfucker got to 19 and a half and fell. He couldn't get. This is like the greatest story ever. And so and we were just dying, you're playing at 3, 4 in the morning, you've been playing and we're all laughing so hard because I'm like, okay, he's going to win. Because 17 was so easy, 18 looked real easy. And then all of a sudden it was just it was the funniest thing of all time. So, and next time you're with him, just fuck with him. Say, yeah, I was talking with Madison and he was telling me about the time he gave you a $10,000 bet and you got to 19. So he'll laugh. It was so funny, man. Yeah, JRB is a character. That is a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and he's and he's an example of someone I love to play with, by the way. I like spending time with him.
Yeah. Well, he's action.
I just mean as a person.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt that I stream with him and I'm happy to have him on stream. I know he's gonna gamble. And I know that other people are going to want to play with him, which I think is another thing that's important. Like, the people that I play with, other people also want to play with this. So Ryan Garcia wants to play with this. I can go down a list of a lot of people because of the group of who we hang out with and who we play. We're fun, and I think that just gets lost in it. When people trying to be pros, they put their headphones on, they shut the fuck up, and they think, I'm just a grinder. Okay, but you're really limiting your upside when you do that, Yeah. And JRB is a great example of someone who goes out there, talks, tells stories, and makes everyone have a good time.
Yeah. Somebody asked me in the chat just now, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, what is I hate bringing this up, what's your opinion on the Jack 4 hand? Do you think there was cheating going on, or are you in the middle? Are you on the no, on the yes? Because people get mad at me because I'm still on. I personally believe something was going on. The body language was so off in the hand, and all the lying that happened afterwards. But what's your opinion?
Well, obviously I'm in the game, so she makes a play against me where it was a pretty sophisticated. is a pretty sophisticated play where I thought she's going to fold to a raise, but instead she shoves. It's like fucking weird, and I don't think she's good enough to be able to do that. And so I've gone all ways on this, you know. And in real time, I can tell you I was more concerned that what Garrett was going to do is going to bust the game, because I wanted Rip and Robbie to stay, and Phil and I were on the same page. You know, Ivy and I do an interview in real time. We're like,
I saw her. I remember it now. Yeah,
you know,
right.
she played with us anytime. You know, and I go back and forth on this because, like, it doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense,
Right.
you know, Mike. So it's really hard. Like, if you're a thief, you don't give the money back.
Right.
Like, I just think, like, why is it thieves stole it? Why do they give the money back? And then if you're fucking have a fucking vibrator inside of you and have someone, you know, sending you vibrations through their phone, you don't choose that hand to fucking make that call.
True.
Because you're actually a dog.
True.
So,
and
so it's like,
and those are things I agreed with, you know. And the reason why I stay on the cheat side is people have a short memory, right? And I remember that this guy Brian was literally looking up, you know, he was really into the fact that that chess player was cheating, that had this vibrator in their ass, right? This is 2 weeks before, you know. Then when it happens, he's the first one to tweet out, "We have the most secure stream. No, there's zero chance there's cheating, blah, blah, blah." And then, you know, then came the all the lies she said, and then came the one that sticks with me is the wouldn't not. Like, she tweets out using the word wouldn't not. I've never heard one person ever use that term before. And then in the direct message that supposedly Brian sent her also was used the word wouldn't not. And so I've watched enough Forensic Files to find out, like, you know, when it looks like it was just so much circumstantial shit. But, you know, is it probably, listen, you know, there's a lot of things that had to happen for that are circumstantial that, you know, she's innocent. But, like, I'm not on just want to just kiss Garrett's ass or whatever. But, you know, like he said, you've watched her on stream now. How many times has she ever once, like, made, like you just said, made the shove like she did? Or has she ever once done what she did? You know, she plays scared. You know what I'm saying? She's not min raising and then calling it all off. You know, you've never like the whole patterns of what you saw now you don't see ever. And even if she's been working on her game, you're still going to somewhat do something that would be somewhat reminiscent. So, you know,
yeah,
listen,
I mean,
we'll never
you know, my wife is a staunch supporter of, she definitely was.
Me too.
I'm like, I don't fucking really have any idea, you know. I know my boy, private investigator Tom Dwan is very certain that she was.
Yeah.
And one thing for sure, you know, Garrett believes what he says. Garrett's an honest guy.
Oh yeah.
And
I've talked to him recently.
You're right or wrong, he feels very strongly in his perspective, and I think it's coming from the right motivations. And so I'm in this camp where I just don't fucking know, you know. Yeah. And like,
and we'll never know. There was never going to be a way where they were ever going to find out. Okay, because listen, there was only two people that had access to the whole cards. One was this guy Brian, right? And you know, there was a lot of fishy tweet. You know, the DM. There was a lot of, you know, there's just a lot of things. There was him looking up about the buzzer. You know, there's a lot of things. And the thing is like I always tell people, and again, you know, this is my opinion, you know, it's not fact or whatever, is I read people. What's my strongest poker skill? My strongest poker skill is, like I was telling you, I get people to talk. I try and pick something up off of them. I am very, very believe that even though we're human, okay, and we try and tell ourselves we don't give something off. We all do. Even myself, I know I give things off. That's why when I get called in perfect bluff spots, I'm trying to figure out what did I give off that I got called. You see what I'm saying? And I've watched it so many times, and it just looks like she's like somebody's telling her to call, and she's all like looking at her hand like it doesn't make sense. Why would I call? And then all of a sudden she calls, and then she wins both boards, and when the pot's being pushed to her, she clams up and gets really quiet, and, you know, doesn't, like, you know how she's normally real excited when she wins a pot or loses, and she just doesn't say anything, and it's just like, what are you looking at? What did I do? And it's almost like she didn't. she doesn't know I'm thinking like even that person, Brian, maybe they don't know what the odds are. Maybe they're just like, you have jack high and he has 8 high and you're winning call. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Shit. I mean,
not everybody knows poker odds.
else, right?
Yeah. Not everybody knows poker odds.
It's just, it's true. Like, it's just, that is, another thing that's interesting is, and again, I'm sitting there. She sits around for 2 hours after stream, never gets out of eyesight, sits with Ryan, talks, just stays in the building. Like, if I got something inside of me and this shit goes down, I'm getting my fucking car and getting the fuck out of here. I'm not sure state police aren't actually going to show up. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get the fuck out. I know that.
Yeah.
But she did it. She just hung out.
Listen,
it was weird.
Listen, we'll never know. Maybe, maybe I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. I just like I said, like Sean Deeb, he's 100% convinced she cheated, right? And like we were talking once, and he's all like, Mike, what makes you a great poker player? Your intuition. What does your intuition tell you? You know what I'm saying? Just like, I had a friend recently got scammed for some money, and we're trying to figure out who might have done it. What did my intuition tell me? I brought up 2 names, and the 2 names that he was thinking about were the exact 2 names I brought up. So, intuition in poker is very big. So,
but check it out, Mike. Here's a question. Would you stream with her? Will you play with her?
Never. I will not.
Never.
Nope. I've held a strong stance on this. Yeah. Yeah. I not because that she's cheating. Let's just say she's innocent. Okay. The reason why I will never stream with her is because she is a narcissist. She will do anything for attention. She was proof when she went on all the podcasts, and she did twisting all these lies that now she admitted that she lied about her relationship. She lied about where she got the money from. She lied about. So like I saw somebody that just, I don't want to, let's just say she didn't cheat. I don't want to be with somebody who I know is on a stream with me looking for attention that will lie and do anything to make herself famous or to make herself well known. And so that's the main reason why I would never. Does that make sense to you? I hated the way that she carried herself after the thing. And that's the main reason. And so, like when Phil streamed with her, he's all like, oh, you hold grudges against people. You don't even know if I go, Phil, it's not about whether she cheated or not. I'm about, what were we talking about earlier in the show? High character people. I want to play with high character people. In a poker world of scumbags, there's not, people might say, oh, 90% of the poker world is good and there's only 10% scumbags. No, it's the opposite. 10% of the poker world's good, 90% of the scumbags. The only thing is all of us high stake players, we play with mostly the 10% of the good. Okay, we don't play with the people that are scumming and doing whatever they can to get into a private game. Hey, we got another one.
Yeah.
We got another call coming in. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to the Mouthpiece. You're on the line with Mike and Eric Persson.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. You got any questions for us?
Oh, yeah. Just more or less a random question here. Anyway, I just want to say I read your book. Amazing read.
Thank you.
Raising the Devil.
Thank you.
It's amazing stuff. Yeah. Just in recent interviews, Phil Hellmuth said he's going to finish with 24 bracelets. I was just wondering how many bracelets do you think you're going to be finishing off with?
That's an interesting question because to win a bracelet, you've got to be lucky at a final table. Like I've made 9 final tables in the last 4 years, and I've been very unlucky. I've been at the final table with 2 of them with Phil, and Phil won more pots at the final table than I did in maybe the whole tournament. I watched Phil win a tournament the other day, the U.S. Poker Open. He won in an hour and a half. The deck smashed him in the face. So listen, it all comes down to you. No matter how good you play, if you don't catch cards at a final table, you ain't winning shit. So, Mike, I would say how many I'm going to end up with is probably 5, because as soon as I get my next one and I'm in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to play very little tournaments because they're just, be honest with you, when you're younger, you're trying to make a name for yourself. Tournament poker is the way to do it. Once you've made a name for yourself, like there's just nobody. Well, there's a few. There's like 0.5% that are
Sure.
making a living playing tournament poker. So,
It's really tough. I mean, even like with the online tournaments that you were playing last year, you were playing so good, and it's always like, I don't know, 25% left in the field, and you have to go all in with ace 10. It's so hard to win a tournament.
You saw me get down to like 10 people twice with big chips and get it in with 3-1 favorite and lost both of them. I win both of those. I win 2 bracelets. See what I'm saying? So that's what it really comes down to. All right.
That's awesome.
You have
man.
any questions for
Thank you
Eric? You have any questions for Eric?
Yeah. Are you selling any merch? The hat's freaking awesome. I love that fucking hat.
Yeah, so we do sell merch. www.maverickgaming.com, and we have hats, hoodies, sweatshirts, and beanies.
There you go.
Awesome, man. I wish you luck for that $1 million game, man. You give a lot of entertainment, and it seems to me you have a really good heart too. You're tough, but you got a good heart. Yep. I could tell.
I mean, I think that, I think that's one of the misperceptions about me is the truth is the people that I give grief to kind of earn it, and I do, and though Helmut and I don't hang out, so many people have told me what a big heart he has. That day he just earned it, and I think even he knows he earned it. But it's like I try to give it to the people. I'm kind of like a person who don't like bullies, is what it comes down to, And
I agree.
I got a big heart, but like if you fuck with me, then I got big fists too, I guess.
No, I get it.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome, man. Well, God bless and good luck.
All right, thanks for calling in, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah,
Take
and Eric, like I said, it's like Scott Seaver. We were talking. He's like, people, they come up to you, they see what kind of money you're playing for, and they don't understand like what kind of person you are, right? And so like I didn't know you, and I asked. I said, I've heard good things, bad things, and when Scott Seaver says, what a good-hearted person you are, that's why I wanted to have you on. We got another call here. We're going to call back here. Yo, welcome to the Mouthpiece. You're on with Mike and Eric. What's going on?
Yeah, my question's for Eric.
Sure.
I was just wondering how he got his start as an entrepreneur, like the early days of his business, and how he got to where he's at today. Like, what was it like at the beginning? Just for some motivation, entrepreneurial motivation.
Yeah, so I grew up super poor, and I grew up in a place called Hoquiam, Washington, outside of Seattle. And everyone's so poor that nobody knew we were poor because we're all poor. We're just outside riding bikes, playing basketball, football. We got to get $200 a year for new clothes. Going to the mall was like a big deal. And I climbed out of that. I was adopted. And, over time, what happened was I always knew I was going to be in gaming. And I got my first break with this guy named Michael Gahn while I was going to Georgetown Law. And I put myself through undergrad as a professional poker player, basically playing stakes as high as 20, 40. And it was limit hold'em and limit stud back then. There wasn't no limit. And so like that can give you an idea. I was making a little over 100,000 a year, which I thought was like $1 million a year. I thought I was fucking rich. I'd have 10,000 in my pocket as like a 20-year-old. And it was like amazing to me, like so much money it felt like. And so Michael did a huge favor for me. He sent me to dealer school. I learned every job there is in a casino. I was a dealer, a floorman, a pit manager, soft count, hard count, security, surveillance, sportsbook. Go down the list. I did the job. And it was the best thing Mike ever did for me. And that was my first break. Mike gave me a big break. He didn't just give me some bullshit executive job. He taught me how to work, in a real job. And I busted my ass. I did a really good job. And then from there, I graduated from Georgetown Law. I got to Caesars, and I just kept getting bigger and bigger jobs. Eventually, I got myself to a company called Las Vegas Sands, which is the largest gaming company in the world. And this guy named Sheldon Adelson owned it. Rob Goldstein was number 2, and I worked for Rob. And I ran slots and marketing globally. And I just kept working. I was traveling all the time. I was away from my family, spending time in Macau, Singapore, spent over a week a month abroad for about a decade. And eventually I got myself in a spot where I was able to purchase 2 casinos in upstate Nevada, Windover, Nevada. Took all my money, $4 million is what I had, and I borrowed another 40. And on the day it closed, we were like 70,000 short. We had to put it like on 3 credit cards. This is a true story. We just didn't know how. We never closed buying a casino before. It's the first ones we ever bought. And I think the biggest thing I took from it was there were people who helped me along the way. And I had the patience to bust my ass and really learn how to be a person of substance, really learn the jobs and really do the work, you know, not just be like, hey, I want to be an executive and give me this big job. And I think that that served me well. That mindset that I'll get in there, I parked with everybody else, I ate with everybody else, I took the same breaks, I worked graveyard. And I wanted to be, so that when I got that opportunity, and I tell all my kids, I tell all the people who work for me, it's not about getting a big job, it's about being able to keep a big job. And I think that just compounds, it gets stronger and stronger. And like the truth is, I was adopted. I came from nothing. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Now I'm playing, you know, the biggest cash games in the world, and I'm winning. Truthfully, as I'm winning doing really well. And it's amazing, you know, so I feel like I'm living my best life. I think everybody can. And I think that you just have to have the appetite, will, and desire, and the honesty with yourself to get better and better and do the work. So many people don't want to do the work, man, and they tap out.
Man,
and I think
it's just so fucking right, dude. That's why I tell myself all the time. You know, and you know, you play with Kevin Hart, so you know what I'm talking about. But like in his office, it says everybody wants to be rich and famous, but nobody wants to work for it. And that's the bottom line. You got to work in life, man.
You know, I play with Kevin, and he's in the middle of a game, and these are big games, and you know, he gets a business call, and he's doing business. Like, that man's always working. It's very impressive. He's always working. And he's a person that is pretty much how you see him in the movies, how he is. He's a lot of fun to be around. But that guy's got a hustle, man. And he is always working. It's one of the most impressive things I've seen. That person, he's so consistent. He's so consistent in his diet. He's so consistent in working out. He's so consistent in business. You know, and he's another person I think is probably living their best life. You know, and it's fun to be around those people because they keep you going. They keep you motivated. They help you understand there's no shortcut, man.
No.
You got to do the fucking work.
Listen.
And you got to love the work, you know?
It's the same exact thing like for me. After my injury, I felt sorry for myself. From 2014 to 2019, I did the woe is me, woe is me. Oh my God, I lost everything. Woe is me. Why do I have this injury? Why me? Why me? You know, then one day, you know, I got the spinal cord stimulator put in, which was able to lower the pain in my body. And then I went and worked hard, worked through the pain, right? And now I'm back on top where I was, you know, almost back where I was 15 years ago. Why? Because I fucking worked hard. And nothing, you know, people don't realize nothing, you're not going to make money. Don't sit there and say, oh, look how much money he has. Look how rich he is. No, go out and work for it. There's no such thing as you're oppressed in the United States of America. If you go out and work fucking hard, you can make it, period.
That's right. The dream's there, man. It's achievable, you know, and I think so many people discount, undersell, and I actually believe in my heart there's many people who maybe have dreams and aspirations, but they choose to never go after them because they're afraid they're going to fail. They don't want to live with the fact that they couldn't get there. And I think that's what stops a lot of people. You got to just push through that shit. Don't worry about failing, man. Just I say it all the time. You see it on my Twitter, you see it on my Insta. As long as you get up, you're always undefeated. Just get the fuck up and keep working.
Fuck yeah.
That's how you get there.
All right.
Gotcha. Great insight, guys. One more question.
Sure.
Who are the best up-and-coming live players under the age of like 25?
Well, he wouldn't know because he doesn't play with any of them. And
but I'm sure he watches content here and there.
I don't know. Would you know? I wouldn't know because I don't play with any of them. So
I got two players that whose game is very impressive. They're playing public games at the Bellagio. One is named Coco, and he's Belgian, and he's a crusher.
He's good.
And Belgian and Coco's biggest problem is he's going to cap himself out because he's never going to get access to the games I'm in. Yeah. But in terms of crushing the games and putting in the hours and not having bad habits, Coco's amazing. There's another gambler that I like named Dylan DeStefano, who's a real gambler, and he's going to have a shot to transition over to stream, I think, to also playing in some big games because his personality is so outsized. And he's smart enough to understand, like, he'll drink, he'll do the things that it takes, so those little things that's going to help him step over it and really be able to get into the real games. And so I think those two players are people to watch off the top of my head.
Wow. All right, cool.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it.
How do you know Coco, Mike?
I just know him through like Stu had told. You know Stu, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Stu's one of my
Jack.
Stu's like one of my best friends, and so he told me that there's this guy Coco is a really good player.
He's really good.
And so Stu plays that 50-100 at the Bellagio all the time, and he kind of gives me an insight of who's who, what's going on, and he's a top 5 friend of mine. So that's how I heard that name. The other name I hadn't heard, but it's listen, the poker world is it's I tell people, they ask me, I want to turn pro. What do you think I should do? You know what I tell these young kids? Go back to school. Don't do
That's
it.
right. Don't.
I say go to school, because listen, if you go to school and you get it, like you said, you got your law degree, whatever, and then you make a lot of money. Now all of a sudden, now you're 35, you're a multimillionaire. Now you can play poker and enjoy your life. Like there's like less than 1% that make as much money as I do, and I mean, or there's like 0.00001%, like the Keatings or the Robles of the world, that make like ridiculous money. So like I tell people all the time, I could teach any person off the street to make $100,000 a year playing poker, and I believe that. Okay, but you can't teach talent. You can't. Okay, talent. What is talent? Talent is the intuition to just know your beat, the intuition to just know you have the best hand. You know what I'm saying? Just anybody could play technically GTO perfectly, jump in 5-10 games and grind 10K a month. It's a lot of work, but 10K a month in the real world is a lot of fucking money. Okay. What's an average salary in the whole country is like $42,000 a year. Is that something like that? Some ridiculously low number. So, if you want to make there's a lot of other things in life that you could do besides play poker for a living. Because as we always say in poker is a tough way to make an easy living,
There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Another guy, I don't know if you know Jeremiah Williams. He plays a lot online, and he also plays cash game.
I've heard that name, but I don't know.
He's a crusher as well. Sure. So I think, to me, those three, he's only 23. He started as a pro online player at 16, so he's got 7 years. God knows how many fucking hands he's played in his life at age 23, which is going to be very impressive because he has no bad habits. He's super disciplined. If you go on my Twitter, he's doing a bankroll challenge right now where he's going to make, I think, $125,000 in 5 months playing online.
That's awesome.
And he just crushes it. So it can get out there, but he's another player. I put him on TV with me every once in a while. I put him on WPT, for example, and I put him on No Gamble No Future one time. But he caps himself out because he's a known entity playing online, and everybody knows he smashes. And nobody at the stakes I'm playing want to play with those guys.
Yeah. No, I get it. And listen, when I was. This is even as early. Let's go back to 2009. 2009, my goal was to have 100 million by 2015. You know what I'm saying? That was my goal. Okay. Then life hits you in the face. Out of nowhere, you wake up one day, you're almost paralyzed. You ask yourself, how could this possibly happen? Right? All I do is sit at a poker table, and then life gets hard, and now I'm happy playing 50 and 100 as high as the highest I want to play. I'm happy swinging 25,000 a day, not 100,000 a day. And that's because you get older and you realize, and you'll tell me, you could be honest with me, and somebody always told me, there's not really much the difference between 2 million and 10 million, but there's a big difference between 2 million and broke. And I learned that, and I realized that, what do you get? After you have more than 2 million, well, you could get nice cars, not boats, houses. How many can you really have? Where does your life really change? You'd be best to answer that, actually.
Yeah, it's true. You start doing sort of absurd things, and I'll give you an example of absurd things people do when they have too much money. They buy every fucking watch they can find. And they have 7 Richard Mille watches, great. And I have 2 Lamborghinis. What do you need? At some point, money becomes a tool. It becomes a measuring stick of success, but it's not utilitarian in the sense that it's impacting your daily life, And that's one of the amazing things about those games I'm playing in private, which are really for nosebleed stakes. Those people aren't playing for that money. They're playing for competition.
Absolutely.
They're playing for conversation, and they're playing because they're successful people who hasn't necessarily mastered this game, and that's not their life experience. Their life experience is they master the things they do. And so poker is the torture they need,
Yeah.
and that's why I love playing those games 2-3 days a month. And I think also by playing that small amount of time, I'm always looking forward to playing those games, whereas when I was grinding, which I had to do for 8 years, I don't know if I was necessarily looking forward to the next day. It was just the routine I was in. I was coming in playing 6 hours to 10 hours and just busting my ass trying to be profitable and making sure all my bills got paid. And I had a fun life. But now I'm in a spot where every single time I play, I'm like, I can't wait to fucking play, and that's an amazing feeling to have.
Do you always play nosebleeds, or do you ever play smaller? Like you were talking about the Bellagio. Do you ever play that 50-100 game at the Bellagio, or?
Chris and Simon's game, 1-200, and Brian's game at Aria.
Right.
I played those games for some portions of 2 years. I don't play them anymore, and I don't play them anymore because
you're given the most action and nobody else is, probably.
And it's just like it's like I have a lot of businesses, and I have a 4-year-old and I have a 10-year-old.
Nice.
And I have this life work balance, and it's easy for me, Mike. It's kind of a different answer than what you're saying. It's easy for me to get sucked into that environment, and then all of a sudden I'm playing 4 days a week in some meaningless small game, and I'm not doing the things that really that I'm gonna remember as I get older. I'm just trading time for some small monetary profit, and it's not fulfilling for me.
Well,
I love poker, but I love it. I really love it the way I'm doing it now, where I'm only playing 2 or 3 days a month, or unless I'm streaming, which I'll do about every 6 weeks, because I really wake up every time I play and I'm like, fuck yeah. And it's consequential. And then I think about every fucking hand that I play through that time. And I think about how people were holding themselves and how they're playing, and way different level of introspection than if you're grinding every day, And I love that. Actually.
I get it, because even when I was hooked with Full Tilt and I was set for life, between endorsements and what I was making playing poker, I was making like $250,000 a month or whatever. And I was but I got burned out, you know what I'm saying? And even the last 2008, 9, and 10, the only poker I played is when Full Tilt told me I had to play on high stakes poker, or a big high stakes stream, or go out to a tournament and represent myself. I was burned out, right? And again, everything happens in life for a reason, right? So I had the injury, and the next thing, first I lose Full Tilt, and I'm in panic mode. Well, wow, I got to go back to work and grind poker, right? And a normal person would have already had 10 million put away, but when you're making $250 a month, and you're part of a poker site where you're just set for life, you don't think about it. And so I'm betting sports, 20,000 a game. I'm going to strip clubs, spending 10, 20. You know what I'm saying? It's just I'm living this and we're talking. We talk about people who get a lot of money and they go down this life cycle, right? And then everything happens. The injury happens, and when I realized quit feeling sorry for myself, and I realized go back to work. You could do it. And I did it. My passion and love for poker returned. I literally love playing poker again, and that's why I'm having success, because you can't just show up and play poker if you don't love it. You know what I mean? And I was burned out, and everybody gets burned out if you're grinding every day. Right now, I play 3-4 hours a day, 4 days a week, 5 days, not even 5 days, 4 days a week. And online, 4 hours a day is 12 hours a day in a cash game. So, that's a lot of time, But I remember back in 2007, 2006, playing Full Tilt, I was playing 15 hours a day, 2 and 3 tabling, and that's how I got burned out. So, I totally understand where you're coming from, I'll tell you what, Eric, I want to one day, in the next year, hopefully, stream with you one day. Maybe you'll play in 100, 200 game, and we'll shoot the shit, have fun, And I'd love to hang out with you one day, or grab dinner or something.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Look, I really appreciate the time today. Sorry about this phone connection.
It's okay, man. We had we almost double viewership today, so people wanted to hear what you had to say. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, good people in poker, and you touched on it. You touched on what make you just can't play with scumbag. Like there's the good the people you named are people that I like to play with, and so you're in a situation when you play 3 times a month, that win or lose, you had a good time. When you win, you have a better time, right? But when
that's right. But
people don't understand as a gambler. And I say this to so many people, and they don't understand it. We get a rush out of winning, but don't think we don't get a rush out of losing. I mean, we hate to lose, but gambler, it's still, you're in there for that rush. I can't tell you how many times I bet a football game, right? And I'm up by 14, laying 7, and I almost want the other team to go down to the 20-yard line because I want that rush. And you know what I'm saying? You look at, and then I win the bet. You see what I'm saying? And I know that sounds crazy, but and most people be like, "Are you crazy, Mike? You just want to win." I'm like, I just like the rush. But I don't bet sports anymore. I bet. People say, "Oh, well, why do you say you bet a 500 or 1,000 on a game?" I go, because I can bet 1,000 on a game every day game the rest of my life and never go broke. You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't do that, I bet maybe 2 games a week or whatever. But it's the hardest thing for me to ever do was quit sports betting. That was harder than drugs, because I used to be hooked on drugs 2000 and 2003. Nothing was harder than quitting sports betting. That was just I couldn't do it. Have you ever bet sports? Have you ever bet sports?
Yeah, my experience with sports betting was just a little bit different. I did something very specific as it relates to betting on baseball, and I was pretty successful at it. And it was during a time when that money, which was probably like 70 or 80,000 a year, was pretty meaningful to me, that I could make during a baseball season. So we're not talking about zillions of dollars or whatever, but I was like 22 at the time, and I did that for a few years. It ended up being so much work in the end, as I got more money, that it just wasn't worth the time value that I was doing it for, if that makes sense. So I'm not a person who went out and just wants to bet on every football game or just whatever. I was doing it for a very particular reason, and it wasn't really very exciting. It was actually a lot of statistic stuff. And
people ask me now, they like, how do you make a bet for $1,000? It doesn't do anything for you. And I said, actually it does now, because you got to remember, very few people in the world are able to come. I came from nothing also, right? Make it to the fucking top, where I was literally in 2005, the first or second best poker player in the world, right? Make it to the top, then lose it all, get it back again in 2013. Then came the injury, lose it all again, and then be able to get it back again. Because when you're able to see those sides of the perspective of life, very few people will ever see both sides' perspective of life, let alone see both sides more than once. And I know I'm blessed, but I've worked hard to put myself in position to not have to, to where I'm not have to worry about money again, but I learned from my mistakes, and it took me 49 years to do it, but better late than never,
Yeah, there's no doubt. My nature is that, I don't ride motorcycles because I know that within a week I'd be dead. I don't have this thing in me that goes, this is a bad idea, not naturally. I have to objectively understand that what I'm doing is a terrible idea. It's another reason I don't do drugs. If I did drugs, I would just die. Some people do drugs and they're fine, and but I'm a person who either does it at extreme or I don't do it at all. And so I have to just keep myself out of situations where that I'm going to end up really, really hurting myself. And how that relates to poker is, you have to. I think losing is really important, and I think that being truly introspective when you lose is being really, really. It's really, really important. And being honest with yourself, and remembering that feeling of how it feels when you lose, and how it feels when you lose when you deserve to lose. when you made a bad decision, when you made an unforced error.
Yeah.
Like, I have to really stew in that shit. And that's what changes my behavior going forward, like more than anything else. I have to really come to terms with that and just really hope, Mike, that I don't forget that feeling of that mistake.
Buddy.
Because
Eric,
that's what keeps me sane.
Fucking right. Like, like I tell you, like why am I able to stay in this couple of these private games I'm in? Why? Because I help some of the players that aren't very good, that like go off and go on tilt. And, one guy lost like 266K in one night or whatever. And he was like devastated. He's texting me. And I kept telling him, remember this fucking feeling. Remember that you couldn't sleep all night. Remember your feeling you feel. If you don't remember the feeling you feel, nothing will change, And I have these talks with a lot of people, people that really well, that have gone, that are kind of business people that have lost a lot, that I have sat and had 2-hour phone calls with, that I've sit and I tell them, in poker, it's not about everybody's going to get their same fair share of cards. People that say, he's luckier than nobody's luckier than anybody else. Okay, over a certain amount of period, everybody gets the cards, right? It's the decisions you make on every single hand. And when you do make mistakes, if you tilt it off or you play bad and you have that horrible feeling in your gut, you learn from it. And if you just always remember, it's just like, I don't mind saying this, right? When I was dead broke in 2016, 2017, when I just did some of the worst things imaginable, and I can't even tell you, but what did I do? My mom was paying my bills. She was giving me $5,000 a month, right? I needed $6,000 a month, right? So I had to somehow have to grind, find a way to make $1,000 a month without any money to make it with, right? And I was like eating at McDonald's and Taco Bell for a year and a half. Like I was spending like basically fucking $300 a month on food, But what did that do for me, right? It's remember. So all the time now, when I go out, I don't make the mistake because I keep telling myself, remember the feeling when you had to remember when your mom screamed at you and she told me, I don't pay your bills, so you go spend $100. I went and ate sushi one time on 1 month, right? And that was it. That was the turning point. That was when I said, that's it. No more feeling sorry for myself. Go out there, and I borrowed like $5K and I ran it all the way up to where I'm at today, and that's just it. You can't feel sorry for yourself. You gotta remember the feelings of bad. It's just if you don't, you'll never get better in life. Your life will never get better.
And you have to reject the notion of a victim mentality.
That's it. That's why I tell people all the time, it's like, I don't want to be political, right? But it's like when one side is telling you you're a victim, and the other side is telling you, we live in a capitalist country, work hard and you'll be okay. That's why I take the one side. I don't want people victimizing people. There is no such thing as you're black or Latino or this or that, and you're born with an unfair advantage. Bullshit, okay? You're 18 years old, you're African American, you fucking, from 15 to 18, you work hard in school, you get good grades. If you can't get into college, you work 2 jobs for the next 3 years. Like, what do? For those 3 years, you put away money. Then all of a sudden, you've got enough money to get a college degree. The next thing you know, by the time you're out of college at 28, you're working, and the time you're fucking 35, you're a multimillionaire. Don't give me no shit you can't do it. It's all about what you want to do. You tell yourself what you want to do, and you do it. If you have to work 2 jobs, whatever you have to do it, you can do it. That's it. Fuck
that mindset's so important. And I think that people, you see it in people all the time, and it's really hard to help people who just always think the world just imposes its will on them. I believe I impose my will on the world. And no matter what happens to me, what mistakes I make, it'll even be said that way. It's a mistake I made. Even I'll never accept that the world just fucks me over.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll give you an example. I mean, you saw how Prahlad Friedman was attacking you and everybody on Twitter, and he had lost his fucking mind. Why? Because he's in victim mentality. Prahlad was one of the best, if not fucking maybe one of the best poker players I ever played with. We used to battle head up on UB for millions of dollars, right? And, he lost everything. And instead of fucking realizing that, hey, I got to stop playing the victim. Instead, he's like, everyone's a racist, everyone's a cheat, blah, blah, blah. I'm so much better than that, blah, blah, blah. While he's living in a favela in fucking Brazil. Get your fucking ass out of there. You know, I had somebody that would have going to help him get on his feet. You know what I told him? I said, when you call him, this person will help you get on your feet, I promise. As long as you don't play victim mentality. He will not help anyone that plays victim mentality. You know, sure enough, he called him, the person, and then he started his victim mentality bullshit. The person told him, you're crazy. They get in a big fight, and now the person wouldn't help him, you know. And it's just like, and now he's finally logged off Twitter, which is thank God, because it was, he had reached peak insanity. And when people were trying to tell him, you know, we're not telling you all these things because we're not telling you you're crazy just to hurt you by saying you're crazy. Like, when every single person that's been your close friend in poker for 20 fucking years is telling you you need help, you need fucking help, okay? If you're the one, if 1,000 people tell you you need help and you're the one denying it, guess what? It's always you. You know what I'm saying? 1,000 people can't be wrong. You know, that's just
that was a spot where I just chose to let him tweet. I didn't respond because I didn't want to amplify it, frankly.
And listen,
you know?
I'm good friends with him, and I was DMing with him, you know, and I'm like, dude, I'm best friends with Ryan and Nick at HCL. Okay, I'm telling you, there is no setup hands. Nothing is cheating. I said nothing. I go, oh, these aren't real. I go, yes, they are, dude. What are you talking about? You play poker for years. Crazy hands happen every day. What are you talking about? You know, and you know, a lot of people were all saying like, oh, you're friends with Patrick Antonius, and that hand was a setup job. No, it wasn't. I mean, come on, man.
What they don't understand is something really simple. I own a gaming company. I own 31 casinos. I have a very privileged license that has a very extensive background check conducted by state agencies, the FBI, and that's where I make all my money.
Yeah.
I might make a few million dollars a year in poker, but it's nothing compared to what I'm doing at Maverick Gaming.
Of course.
And I would never put something at risk for the thing that actually feeds me. You know, so if I don't have my integrity, then I don't have my gaming licenses. If I don't have my casinos, I'm fucking having to hustle my ass, do something else. It would never make any sense.
Yeah.
They don't understand that.
No.
You know, they just, people who are getting caught in the conspiracy world, it's like a real fucking suck you in black hole.
Yeah.
And that internet's fucking nasty, man.
Dude,
like, I don't mind.
The internet is the most toxic, nasty. If you fucking really want to hate yourself, be on social media. I mean, literally, if you want to hate yourself, because everybody, I mean, half the people are like 16, 17-year-old kids trolling everybody. I mean, it's like they just have no life. Like, it's really sad, you know. But listen,
I got a funny story about that. I got that YouTube video. I think it's the most watched all time with Helmet with 5 million views or some shit. And so many comments, you know, and there's like a very, very small amount of comments because my wife's on it a little bit, and they make comments about her, and it just drives her crazy. Like, you know, because she's Asian, she's a mail order bride, or like her head's too big, or like, and it's like 4 comments out of like 50,000, but she just sees those 4. And I wake up in the morning, she's making a fake YouTube account because she wants to message those motherfuckers back and get them.
You know what?
What are you doing?
I know.
What are you doing?
Here's even something funny for you. Up until like 2 years ago, I think about 2 years ago, I didn't even know like comments existed. Like, so I didn't really know.
That, right?
I never looked.
Who logged into YouTube, Mike, to
right.
make a comment?
I would just like put my tweets out there, right? And then one day Helmuth goes, "Did you see all those people commenting on your tweets?" I go, "What do you mean commenting?" He goes, below the tweets, they comment. And so then maybe it was 3 years ago, but it was like between 2 and 3 years ago.
I don't want to deal with any bullshit on social media.
and so you know, so I didn't even know comments existed. And then one time, so then once I realized they're existing, right? Because Phil's always, you know, we know how Phil is. You know, he needs affirmation at all times. You know, he's very insecure. Everybody must tell him how great he is, right? So, you know, one time he retweets something from a guy that was telling him like how great he was or whatever, and the guy had 4 followers, right? I'm like, dude, You can't retweet people who have 4 followers when they fit the mold of something you want to hear. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't know. And so Phil didn't know that you have to check how many followers those people have, because most of the people that are saying bad things or whatever, like, they don't even have 100 followers, right? So you don't give them the time of day. You know what I'm saying? And so now every time Phil retweets something, right, he always double checks how many followers they have. Like, he didn't know to look for the follower count. But listen, in this world, like, think about it, because I know you're on the same page with me. And I talked about it last week on the podcast and the week before. Social media is a drug. Okay, people are desperate for affirmation. You know, that's my word I use. And it's like, you have young kids, they're in high school, they have like 3 friends, 2 friends. But some of them don't have any friends, right? They put out a tweet that gets 1,000 likes, right? 100 likes, right? All of a sudden they think they have 100 good friends. Those people they're never even going to see in their lives. They're meaningless to them. But because of how it uplifts them, right? This is why social media, like when Elon Musk said, "Oh, I'd like to fucking buy Facebook and delete it." You know, if they deleted all social media tomorrow, you know how much better the world would be. Oh my God!
Like, it's I think it's really hard. I mean, we're the same age, and it's like we're more engaged in social media than most, I think, but I think it's even hard for us to understand. You know, I got 4 children. I got 2 girls, they're 19 and 20. And they grew up with that pressure, and that world's different than the world we grew up in, you know, where you pretty much, you dated the girl that was at your school, right? Because how is you going to see them, you know? And they just grew up in this world where everybody has this connectivity where you can find anybody anywhere. And like, you know, all these people who, it feels good when you get 500 likes, and those people don't give a fuck about you, but you think, wow, you know, I have this social connectivity, and it's like one of these things, like, I feel like I have a grasp on it, but I'm not sure I can really understand, you know, what I have a 4-year-old and 10-year-old, what they're going to feel like growing up in that world and totally immersed.
You know,
how my 19 and 20, you know, it's crazy.
As much as I am for free speech and everything, which I'm a big free speech proponent, right? But like in 2007, when Twitter first came out, and the person, our PR department at Full Tilt said we all had to get on Twitter or whatever, and I said to myself, holy shit, man, when I was in high school, people would have notes around and they'd make fun of people and kids would get super depressed. Now they're just like making like these posts, Facebook posts, Twitter posts, where they're getting the whole school's liking, and then the kids get, that's why I said the suicide rate of these young kids is going to skyrocket. And sure enough, it's up 70%, right? It's up 70% just since the beginning of the pandemic, you know? So that's why, you know, we fight to try and like I really believe, like, we're the same as me. So when we're in high school, right, if we wanted to see an R-rated movie, it was NC-17, right? Our parents had to take us, right? Or we had to sneak in. Now, look at the filth and gross and disgusting things any young kid could just click on. Now, granted, a parent could put parental control and block that. But that's if you're a good parent. How about their friends that are bad parents? You see what I'm saying?
And can they really block them all? Can they block the phone, the tablet, the fucking computer, their friend's computer, their friend's tablet?
They can't.
No way.
So my theory is, let's just say, because I believe 16 should be the minimum age to get on any social media, right? Well, let's just say at 10 years old, you get an ID. Right. I just believe for you to be able to log, if they have it that to log in a device, like you have your device, you must submit your ID, and then that ID gets processed to that device. So now when that device tries to go to like some kind of porn or some kind of whatever where you need to be 18, that it's blocked because it's your ID is on that device. You see what I'm trying to say? And I think that's just, if they're able to stop me from playing fantasy sports in Nevada because Nevada DraftKings doesn't want to pay to be licensed here, or they're able to block us from playing internet poker outside of Nevada, New Jersey, or Michigan, then they could block anybody of any age from seeing things that are really bad. Like this TikTok thing is I mean, make sure your kids are never on TikTok. This shit is very, very bad. I mean, it's like these kids, they get brainwashed by things they see online, and, you know, like they can see anything, man.
They can see anything. It's what I mean. It's a whole different world that our children are growing up in, you know, and even though we're engaged in social media, I think it's even hard for us to understand the pressures and the thought process and the way they accept information.
Well,
think about it.
It's like people want to think like I'm anti this or anti this, you know, when I bring up like the trans movement. It's like, okay, well, 5 years ago, 0.5% are identified as trans, and now 5 years later, it's 11%. It's now that's social media. That's brainwashing. Okay, people are being told that you're not this, you're in the wrong body, or you're this or that. Like, I'm not against anybody. People can live their lives. I love gay people. I love trans. I love everybody. You know? But what I am against is young kids being fucking, you know, brainwashed. Because think about when you were 10, 11, 12. When I was, the peer pressure to like smoke pot, which I never did. But this peer pressure to like, every little, there was always, in high school even, there was groups. Everybody had little groups, and there was always peer pressure to do things, right? When you start following bad things on the internet, you know, and you think you're being accepted in that group because everybody wants to accept you, you know, you gotta walk. I'm worried for this world, man. So you have young kids. I worry for them. I worry, you know, I want to have a kid. I want to have a family, and I have an opportunity to, but I'm scared. You know, I see what these kids are going through. You know.
Yeah, and that's the reality. And like, I was just talking to one of my friends today, and we were joking around, but we're not joking. It's like every generation thinks that, you know, that music has gotten worse, and that, you know, every generation like feels like the work ethic of the next generation is just less, and like we're just certain this time we're fucking right. Like,
we are, because
really right.
All you have to do is look at the data. The data has, this is the first generation where like something like the younger people, what was it, or have less money than the older people, and I don't know what it was, but there's like data that shows that people are like, you know, they polled like 1,000, you know how they do polls, teenagers. Well, what do you want to do when you grow up? 16-year-olds. You want to know what the number one thing they want to be?
Stream.
Social media influencers.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The world's in big trouble if 61% want to be social media influencers, right? I mean, this is.
And then there's me. And then there's me, Mike, being a social media influencer. A couple 100,000 followers.
Yeah, you know, it's like, but it's like, it's again, we talk about affirmation and the drug, you know, like Phil needs to hear from random people he'll never meet, like how good he is or whatever, and he needs affirmation, and so many other people. It's just like listen, I know views and clicks are important for certain businesses, but like even with my buddy Nick Vertucci, like I got mad at him, you know, when he had Robbie on his show. And, you know, and I'm like, well, why do you need her? Why? For clicks and views? I'm like, is that going to make you, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like there comes a point, and this is where I kind of like call out, I've always liked Doug Polk. I've never had nothing against him. We always got along really good, you know, but I see like what he'll do for clicks, views, and likes. And it doesn't matter who's in his way. If it's going to, you know, if he'll hurt somebody, like I watched how he hurt Daniel for 2 years, you know, and then got the payoff at the end. You know, I watched how I was going to buy the place across the street from him, and it was almost pretty much a done deal. And then he's on social media bad-mouthing me. You know, it's like, it's real easy you see a story come up, then you jump into it because you want your perspective, and whatever you'll say and do whatever for clicks or likes. And that in itself is like a drug. It's like a drug addict. Like I'll admit it. Like when I had Mike Postle on the show in the height of that cheating scandal, like I got a rush out of it because I had 50,000 people viewing it, And so, but I also realized to myself, even after I had the rush after it, and I was so excited because we are just starting the podcast and how many people, I said to myself, but I don't want to live like that. I don't want to have somebody on the show for just clicks and views. I don't want to have, to me, I see the downside of it. I'd much rather be my normal self, people who like me for me, people I could tell the truth to, people I could give my honest opinion, whether I get clicks or views, I could care less, It's just, I don't know if I have the right thought process or not. Maybe, clicks and views is the new how you make money, real money, but that's fine. But you got to, I want to listen to somebody who are genuine, I need that. It's just important to me.
I agree. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've had to adapt over the last 2 years is I had to come to terms with that I have this platform, and I have a lot of people who are really hardcore fans, and some people, read things sometimes, and some people are casual fans. But I have to really be thoughtful about who I amplify and who I engage with and the fights that I get in, because I can find myself going down this rabbit hole and really taking these real marginal viewpoints and having the opposite effect occur of what I want by amplifying them. Right. Like they don't have the platform to get their crazy thoughts out there, but as soon as I engage them, everybody's listening.
And see, that's what happened with Nick. Nick started picking unneeded fights. Because Nick's really passionate. You know him very well. You know, so he'll see people say things that we know are untrue about HCL, and he'll get on there and then he'll attack them, or And the thing is and I tell Phil this all the time, is it doesn't matter. You're 99% of these people you'll never see in your life, and they mean nothing to you. So just try and ignore them as best as you can. But I get it. Sometimes you got to stick up for yourself. But most of the time, you just got to realize these are just nobody that you'll never meet. So, hey, I know you're busy. I appreciate.
Will we see him at the World Series?
Hey, are you going to? Have you played at the World Series at all? Are you ever going to play? Are you playing any events just for the heck of it? Have you ever done that or no?
Oh, so I played in the main event because I was promised some TV time last year, for example. Yeah. I don't really play tournaments, and the reason I don't play tournaments is I don't have 4 days to sit down for 12 hours, and I have a really busy schedule, and so it's super hard for me to commit to playing tournaments and really get into that mindset. What I do is I play really high stakes cash games, and I'm pretty good at it. And there's really big payoffs, and there's a lot of adrenaline, and there's a lot of all the fucking, endorphins that come with that. I get it all right there. I don't get it in a tournament. Frankly, if I were to win 640,000 in a tournament after playing for 7 days, I'd want to vomit.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. I hate tournaments, right? I've always hated tournaments. The only reason why I'm even still playing it is I wanted to be in the Hall of Fame before my dad passed away. That didn't happen. Now my mom, she's 85, right? And so I know I just need to, if I win one more, because it's all about confirmation bias. Not what have I done for poker to help promote poker my whole life. It's what have you done for me lately? So, I'm just playing, probably as soon as I win one more and I get in the Hall of Fame, I probably will, I might play the main event, and I'll probably play the Omaha 8s because I'm a really good Omaha 8 or better player. But other than that, it's I just don't I'm losing money playing tournaments. If I played cash every day during the World Series, I'd make at least $300,000, guaranteed. Last 3 years, let's just say, last year I end up losing 5,000, one of my third losing World Series. The year before I won 75. The year before I won 45. The year before I won 75. It's I'm losing money. The cash games are off the charts during the series, but I do it because I enjoy the people. During the series, because most of the time I'm playing the 10,000 mixed game championship events, which is the same 200 people you play with every year. So I enjoy it, but listen, I'm like you, dude. I hate tournaments, and I've always people even growing up, people would be "Oh, Mike, you're so good." I go, I'm good at tournaments, but I hate them. Like we would always, you'd play cash, you'd win at cash to have your buy-ins for a tournament to, to give yourself a chance to get lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like these people that play tournaments for a living and grind the tournament, I mean, I commend them. That is like insane. It's the most miserable thing you could ever do. And these people like it. Like people say what they want about Alan Kessler. This motherfucker goes to every fucking tournament, travels around. I'm like, this guy's crazy. Like I could never play tournaments for a living. I'd fly around the country playing tournaments. It's miserable. I mean, only one person's happy. Even if you get second, you're miserable. You might be like, oh, the money's good, but you're still miserable. Only one. So that's just it.
I agree, and I think that a lot of those tournament players who are really doing it seriously for a long time, like they're not even necessarily playing to win; they're playing to survive and grind and like get into the money. And like I think sort of reject the notion, like if you just the fact that, and what you said spot on, people lump their cash game into their tournament and they net it out and they go, "See, look, I win." I think bullshit, man. Like use your time, play cash. I think most of those people are probably overall winning players. And they're just treading water, hoping to, strike it rich, get lucky in some big game. Otherwise, it's ego. They're playing like 100,000 super high roll.
Right. Like even like I used to think, like even when I ran a teaching site back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, right? There was like no money in it. Now all of a sudden, all these people are like running teaching sites and making like $1 million, $2 million a year, and I'm like, how the fuck are they? I mean, and they win one or two tournaments and then they run a teaching site and they're making a lot of money off it. But I've tweeted it out, like, why do you want to teach people how to play poker? Like how are you going to win if you're teaching people, And listen, I love helping people. I love teaching. Like I love teaching somebody that can play $5, $10, and pick up 100,000 a year. I love it. I love being able to, because I know that's like life changing for a lot of people. But like the people that teach like really high end to be like, I don't get it. Like I don't know why you would want to. I mean, maybe you're all over poker and that's how you make your income. But like, I don't know. Like I said it out loud once. Like who makes money in teaching poker? And Daniel writes to me. He goes, "Oh, master class. I've made $3 million off the." I go, "Yeah, you're Daniel Negrana. You've made $3 million off of master class. Like how many people are making $1 million a year teaching poker? Maybe they are. But I mean, I think you can make them. I think it's just,
money isn't the source of happiness."
Daniel. But anyways, I don't know. I just. Me and you have a lot alike, man, in every which way. We talk a lot. But I listen. If I had the money, I don't know if I could ever gamble big again because, when you lose it and you felt that pain of playing big and when I had hit, I just always, I always think of that rock bottom. I don't ever want to be there again. So like people always ask me, why aren't you playing these big games? I could play these big games. I got people that stake me in these big games. I don't need it. I don't, it'll make me miserable. Let's just say I got in a big game and lost 800,000, 600 of it, 500 of somebody else's money, man. I'd feel way worse losing that than I would my own 300,000, So.
Yeah. Look, it's real. Like I just did, I lost $1 million a couple weeks ago. And when you start to apply that back to the real world, you wonder what kind of sanity check you really have on yourself. And I know that overall I'm super positive and I have I'm in a really good spot. But these numbers are real.
Yeah. And I play with rich. I tell you what, I play with rich people all the time, and like even the richest, a lot of rich people that are worth $100 million, they don't have like liquid, like they're not sitting with like 5 million cash, you know what I mean? Or like cash is, most of they're rich because they've got most of their money invested in stuff, but liquid, most rich people don't have that much cash, So
$1 million cash. That was just one night.
Yeah.
One night.
I bet it hurt.
It's just, the circumstances of everything, with 10 minutes to go, Mike, that's really bothering me. And the fact, and I'll tell you some stuff that's nuanced that I think players can benefit from hearing. There was 3 highly skilled players and there was 3 lower skilled players, and I was there to focus on the lower skilled players. Right. And yet I found myself in the hand with the 2 other best skilled players for the most amount of money. That alone is probably a mistake, Mike.
Listen, I already know, just listening to you, I know that you're on the right track because you play poker. That's how I think. Like when I'm in the game, like, Phil will always be like, I'm going to stack you, blah, blah, blah. Me and Phil are playing together. And I'm laughing because it's like he raises or whatever. I don't even get in his way. There's like, if there's 3 or 4 people that are giving away money, like I don't even give a fuck. I don't even pay attention to you. So, that is a mistake, when you're playing, of course you're going to end up playing hands against, good players a lot. But overall, you're not really you're looking at others. There's a whole session of finding spots against people who are going to give you the money. So, you don't need to put yourself in a spot like you did. And it's kind of like I had a friend that did it the other day, and where he lost like 30 on with 5 hands to go in the day, and I'm like, why? What are you doing there? You're up against the guy that's winning. When he's winning, he's not putting chips in the pot. So it's just the game's almost over. Like I said, the other day we had 7 hands to go. I raised, I got 3 bet, I folded ace queen. I raised, I got 3 bet, I folded ace jack suited. I raised, I got 3 bet, I folded ace queen again because there was I picked up 3 hands out of the last 7 hands. I didn't want to. We have 7 hands left. Like I'm up. I got a nice win locked up. Like, do you really want to? The game's ending. If you know the game's going, you play poker. But if the game's ending in 3 hands, why do you need to get involved? And again, you'll learn from that. That'll be something that going forward, if that happens again to you, you'll make, and it will happen again. I mean, you'll say, "Ha ha, I'm not making that mistake again."
That's the goal, man. To continuously improve, be super honest with yourself, introspective, and just make that effort, and not just stay stagnant as a person, as a player, and just think, it's bad luck. I got dealt kings versus aces. What am I supposed to do? I think that's the difference. The more I play and the more I'm privileged to be around people who are really, really good, and not just in poker, but in life, it's that continuous introspective and understanding there's a very thin line between people who are good and people who are great.
Yep.
And if you want to be great, it takes consistency, it takes discipline, it takes determination, it takes honesty with yourself, it takes hard work, and a lot of people are winners, but they'll never be great because some form of all those little things will trip them up. And very few people can sustain greatness for a long time. Andrew Roble, he's done it. Phil Ivey, he's done it. Patrick Antonius, he's done it. And it's just rare, and you got to give props to those people who aren't the greatest for a day.
Me and Roble battled 25-50 when he was 22 years old for hours. We would play. I mean, I always thought he was a great player, and growing, you look back and you look at how many people from the 90s are still relevant. And I think I could name 4 or 5, even Patrick came up in the 2006, same with Tom Dwan. But Roble came up around, right with me around 2000, or I came up in 96, but he was about 2004. But there's just not many people from the 90s that are still winning, and it takes work, it takes dedication, and again, like even I was talking with Daniel Negreanu yesterday. I go, "You getting ready for the series?" You know what he says to me? "Hired a trainer. I'm working out 2 hours a day every day because," and this is what I tell Phil. Phil wants to talk about what he won last week instead of what his mistakes are. Like, you got to be prepared. The World Series coming up for 6 weeks. You're going to have to put in 12-hour days every day if you want to win bracelets. You can't just sit there and say, "I'm Phil Hellmuth," and just show up. It's like, I'm being honest with him. If I tell him I don't like the way you're playing, I'm doing it for a reason. I'm not trying to hurt him. I taught him all the mixed games. He made 7 final tables in 7 different games in 2021 because I taught him that. Why would I be trying to hurt him? When I see him off, I tell him, and his ego gets in the way, and whatever. Then he'll have to deal with whatever happens. But hey, I appreciate you coming on, Eric. What's that? You want to plug something on the show? Anything you need to plug?
Oh man, hey guys, I appreciate everybody's support. You can get my merchandise at maverickgame.com. Eric Persson Poker, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Follow, subscribe, guys. Love you.
All right, buddy. Hey, thanks for coming on. I don't know where you're headed, but have a safe trip, and love your brother, and hope we'll grab dinner when you're in town, and I'd love to hang out with you.
Talk soon, man. Thanks,
All right,
Mike.
you got it, my man. Take care.
See you.
All right.
Shit, that was a long
That was good.
huh?
That was a really good interview. I really, really enjoyed having him on. Like I said, he's one of the good guys in the industry. And a lot of people would like to say, I saw a lot of people say bad things about him that don't even know him, right? And when I was watching him, I wasn't sure, if he was a good person or not, because, how him and Phil, went at him. And, me and Phil are really close. But, I was at a hockey game with Scott Seaver, and Scott Seaver was saying, that Eric was playing in the mixed game, and he was trying to learn a lot of the games. He didn't know how to play, and he was up like $1 million, and then he had lost like 600 back or whatever. But he made a point. He says he's a really nice person. He's like, people always talk about how high he plays. They talk about money, wins or loses, but he's an honestly nice person. So, I wanted to have him on, and then Ryan Feldman also told me that he's a really good person. And, again, in the poker world, you hear him talk about people he plays with and the good people in the poker world. And so we'll answer this call. Well, to the Mouthpiece is Mike.
Mike, great interview there.
Yeah.
It gave me an insight into Eric, because most of what I knew about him was that the heads-up match that he had with Phil, and he didn't look too good in that.
Right. Yeah. He like I said, I follow him on Twitter. I see how he, people attack him and go after him, and I just felt like I said, when I saw Scott Seaver at hockey game and we were talking about him, and he told me what a good person he was. I kind of wanted to have him on. I wanted to hear, kind of like how he thinks about life, and it's amazing. He thinks about poker and life like I do. I say that. How many times you hear me on the podcast? I don't want to hear fucking victims. I hate fucking victims. Don't give me the victim mentality bullshit. A lot of my politics is because I fucking don't want to hear about the victim mentality. Go out and work. There's nobody in the world. Like, there's anybody who's listening to the stream. It doesn't matter if they tell themselves, let's just say they're broke, or even they have $1,000 and they tell themselves, you know what? I want to do this in life. You just fucking write up a plan of how you're going to do it, what you need to do, and whether if you're 22 or 23 or 24, that plan, make it a 10-year plan, because people will be like, oh, I'll be 34, I'll be old. Blah, blah. No, you won't be old. 34, you're just a baby. You don't know that until you're 34, because once you're 50, you realize that people in the young 30s are babies, And so, you set out a plan of what you want in life, and you stick to it. And if you have to work 2 jobs to get to that plan, you do it. But there's no such thing as I can't. That's a loser mentality, And like I said, like he was talking about Kevin Hart. Like I've seen the documentary. Like when Kevin Hart talks about, this guy sleeps like 5 hours a night, sees his kids for 3 hours a day. He's able to play poker a couple days a week. This guy does everything. And I always touch on it, man. The main sign in his office, it says, everyone wants to be rich and famous, but no one wants to work for it. It's a huge, huge sign right in the middle of the fucking hallway of his office. And it's the facts, You're not going to, if you want to make it in life, you can't feel sorry for yourself. From 2014 to 2019, I felt sorry for myself. And that's when things were bad for me,
Well, Eric looks like he's a lawyer, very successful, well-educated, and he worked his way through the gaming industry. It seems like at this point in his life, he's got children and a family. Poker's a reward for all the hard work that he did.
Exactly.
But,
and
I wanted
listen-
to ask you.
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to ask you a question about early on in your life. When was the earliest in your life that you knew you were a gambler?
Oh, that's a good question. So, when I was 18 and I was sent off to, I went to a school to be an auto mechanic because I had a race car. I love working on cars. So I figured I'll be an auto mechanic. My mom, of course, was wanting to kill me because she wanted me to be like, lawyer or doctor or whatever, And so I went to school, and my mom and dad, they would always go to Samstown. They'd play video poker machines, right? And they would talk about like, oh, I hit a royal for 1,000. Oh, I hit a royal for 1,000. And I would laugh at them. I'm like, you're so stupid. You're just gambling. You can't win. Gambling is for losers, right? And so then I come back from a break from the mechanic school I was at, and my friend Lauren Kramer says, oh, let's go play video poker machines at the Maxim Hotel, which is, they changed the name of it now. It's called the Clearwater, I think it is. But it was on Flamingo right across the street from Bally's, which used to be the MGM. And we're playing video poker machines, and I'm like, whatever, I had $10. I win like $86, right? And I fucking
How old were you?
18. And I go back
Oh,
to
you're
school.
18.
I go back to school. I won $86. Blah 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 blah. Right? Didn't think much of it. Right? And I came back after the first semester, and I'm hanging my mom. Oh, I want a royal. I want a royal. Blah blah blah. I had a fake ID, so whatever. And so now I get $20, and then I hit a royal flush for $1,000. Right? And so, and that was the start of my.
But I'm surprised that at 18, like, didn't something happen earlier in your life where you got involved in some sort of a bet or gamble that
No,
said, hey, I like
hated
this?
gambling.
No?
I was anti-gambling. Even when I was betting sports at like 17, 16, I was betting baseball. My dad was putting the bets in, whatever, for me. That wasn't gambling. I had fucking pages of charts. I fucking read a book. I tell people all the time, if you want to bet baseball, go get a book at Gambler's Bookstore called Mike Lee, Betting the Bases. If you follow everything in that book, like, it's not about pitching. It's all about peaks and streaks and when a team's hot, when they're not. Like when a good team wins 8 games or more in a row and then they lose, you bet against them the next 10, and they never go bet more than 5 and 5, and you're always getting like plus 2 to 1. So you print money, and so that's just one of the streaks. There's all kinds of. It's a really good book if you want to bet baseball. But so when that was the only. I didn't call it gambling because I was treating it as a job, and I was betting like $20 on each game and making like $500 a week at like 16, 17, you know what I'm saying? But like gambling, I was never into gambling. And then I got addicted to the video poker machines because the next thing you know, like I hit like 8 royal flushes in a month, right? And which was like, and I've hit 81 royal flushes in my lifetime, but like I was addicted. And I talk
Hold on,
about
81 royal flushes, what, in live poker?
on poker machines. On poker machines.
Oh, it's poker machines.
No, I've
How
hit.
do you remember 81?
Well, I just
Of all
kept
the
track
hours?
every time I got one. So I don't play like I'll play a video poker machine, like during the World Series when I get done for the night at 2 a.m, I'll go to a bar to eat, and maybe I'll drop $100 in or whatever. But like,
Oh my God.
but I don't ever go out to play video poker like I used to. I mean, I talk about it in my book. Like I used to steal money from my mom's purse to play. I was so addicted, and then one day I was playing when I was like 22, I think it was 21, with a guy named Phil Samaroff. He says, "How'd you like to learn something where you'll never have to work another day in your life?" And this was 1991, so that's 31. Yeah, I was 22 years old. He goes, "You ever heard of the World Series of Poker?" And I said, I said, yeah, because I saw it on the on ESPN. He goes, I'll teach you how to become and so I bought the very first book I bought, because it was all limit hold'em back in the day. It was Skolansky's book on hold'em, and I kind of remembered all the charts, what hand beats what, and next thing you know, I'm sitting behind the guy for like a week straight, and I'm learning, and I didn't know I was a natural. It was weird. I just knew what everybody had all the time, and I just was like, and I was picking up like $800 a week playing $4-8 limit hold'em. You know what I mean? And the next thing, maybe I shouldn't say that. I make $700 a week, probably $650, $700 a week, and after a couple of years of doing this, right, I'm realizing that the dealers are making like $800 a week, but they're not. I don't have to worry about the ups and downs. So I had the dealers over at Samstown where I played at. They taught me how to deal. They loved me. And so I like between 1 and 3 in the morning, they taught me how to deal. And I became a poker dealer for 3 years. And the first 6 months dealing poker was so much fun because because I was so good at poker, like I'd watch bet, raise, re-raise. At the end of the hand, I'd push the fucking hands up before they turned the cards over. Like I knew what they had. And being a poker dealer made my poker skills even go to a higher level, because while I'm dealing poker, I'm focusing on what they all have, because I'm trying to get better.
Oh yeah.
And so
you getting to identify all the trends.
Right. And so I didn't even.
You said. Yeah.
I knew the World Series of Poker existed, but I didn't know like high stakes poker existed. Then the next thing you know, they go, oh, play 10-20 or 20-40 limit hold'em over at the Horseshoe, and I ended up I still remember the first time I played 10-20. I was fucking petrified. You win or lose $500. $500 was so much money at the time. And then I remember playing 20-40 limit hold'em, right, and playing with Johnny Moss, right. And we all became really good friends with Johnny Moss. It was in the very late ages of his life where he had dementia. And so, the whole key was to get in the 20-40 game to play with Johnny Moss, because, he just lost 1,000 every time, 500 or 1,000 every time he played. And Jack Binion would give him like 1,000 a day to play with, plus he stayed at the Horseshoe. That's where he slept in his late days. And but I remember going from 10-20, and then the adjustment I had to make to 20-40, how it was even more aggressive, right? And I would make all this money. I was making like fucking $3,000 to $5,000 a week, but I was back working for $100 a day playing poker, or dealing, because I was always blowing all my money betting on sports. And so you can read my book. It talks about it. Then I met this guy Neil, and this guy Neil said he'd stake me in these big games as long as I promised not to play poker. And we went down to LA. I played 40-80 limit. The first 3 weeks I lost a lot because it was a big adjustment from 20-40 to 40-80. And then I ran into Huck Seed playing 40-80. He had just won the World Series in '96. And he's like, man, you're really good. And when you hear a guy just won the World Championship tell you how good you are, now you know you're good. And then it just, one thing led to another, and that's how I ended up being a professional poker player. So.
Well, I'm kind of lucky because I got gambling in my blood. I was 5 years old, and I was living in Morrisburg, which is very, very eastern part of Ontario on St. Lawrence River. And we went to the family fair. Like, it would come up, like the county fair would come up like once a year. And so it was in the summer, and I remember walking along. I don't know if I had any money. I was only 5 years old. Or maybe it could have been 4.5. But we were going through it, and I thought it was so exciting to be at the fair. And then we got to the table with the big spinning wheel. It's like about 7-8 feet in diameter, and you put your money down on your spot. And I'm standing there looking at this thing. I've never seen anything like it. And somehow, I think my father gave me a quarter. Definitely it was a quarter. I think he must have given it to me. I don't know if I had my own money at the time. But anyway, I had the quarter, and I put it down on the 8-1 spot. First bet of my life. It spins round, and it's clicking and it's clicking and clicking. And bingo, all of a sudden, my 25 cents became $2. And I remember that like it happened yesterday. And I knew I was a gambler. I just couldn't believe it. And I thought about it in terms of chocolate bars.
But I never thought I'd be a gambler because I would make fun of my mom for playing these poker machines, you know. And then once I got addicted to them, I mean, I knew I was addicted to them. But like when that guy Phil like taught me how to play Hold'em, like I was just a natural. And then like I didn't play No Limit until I was ready. Because, like, I watched Stu Unger at that final table. If you watch the video of it, I'm outside on the front rail. I'm there the whole time because I'm trying to learn what he was doing, you know. And I said the first No Limit Hold'em tournament I played was at the Rio, the Carnival of Poker at the Rio, where I finished, like, 16th. And then the second one I played was... it was 1999. They had a 3,500 no limit and the main event. They only had 2 no limit tournaments. Everything else was limit poker, and I win it. I win it for.
You won your second tournament that you ever
for
played?
$356,000 in 1999, and that's that one right behind me. You can see it says 1999 no limit championship in the back here, and and so. I mean, I listen to people like there were certain people like I talked to TJ Cloutier, who was considered the best at the time. I talked to Eskimo Clark, and I learned different things like how to pick up dead money. And I think at the time, you know, that's what people ask me, well, what's the difference between now and then? I'm like, well, before I just picked up the dead money and people would just fold. Now everybody knows what you're doing, so you have to fight for the dead money. And that's really where the only thing that's really changed is fighting for the dead money. And people are good now, where before I could raise, like even last year at the main event, day 3, with 2 hours to go, people were trying to get in the money. And me and the guy next to each other, we gave each other a look and we started smiling, right? And so we just took turns raising every other hand. Like, me and him raised 100% of the hands because everybody was just trying to get in the money. And so I was able to bring my chip stack from 260 to 590 going into day 4, which was a really good stack, like 150 bigs. And unfortunately for him, he got kind of coolered in 2 hands where he finished the day with like 270, which was still like 60 big blinds, but like this was, and we talked about it after. This was like a table that from like 2005, like where you could just run over. Like you don't get tables where you run over anymore, and so, you know, I finally, after grinding the first 2 days of it with all pros. And like even the 2 years before, the first 2 days, all pros, I finally got a table that I could destroy, and I did. You know, people think I'm a tight knit. I take what the table gives me. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And and that's why I hate being on the TV table. I hate the TV table so much because now, like I told Maury, I was playing a charity tournament a month ago. I said, why do we have to have it on a hour delay? Well, have it on a 3-hour delay. Who gives a fuck? Why do people need to see it in live time, right? Like, so you have the guy who I ran the big bluff against, like says, oh, I only called because I went back and saw the film of you bluffing this guy in a hand, right? So now he knows I'm capable of bluffing, right? Like the other people, they're not going to be on the TV table till there's like 3 tables left. You see what I'm saying? So, and that day, I almost wore my political shirt, you know, pro-Trump shirt, anti-Biden shirt, because I know if I'm wearing that, they're going to be like, oh, take your shirt. I mean, they don't want, you know, no political shit on the thing. And so maybe it was going to keep me off the TV table. You know what I mean? See, I want to be on the TV table on day 1, okay? Because on day 1, you know, it's kind of like you're just sitting back, like you have all the rec players, you know, trying to wait to punt to you. Plus, when the rec players get on a TV table day 1, they're really scared to play. So it allows you to even run over them more. So, you know, so there's just, but day 4, you don't want to be on a TV table on day 4. Fuck.
Mike, I know that you said that you didn't like tournaments too much, but the main event's a special place in your heart, you'd like to take down a main event, right?
Well, now I know that. Here's the thing: is I now know that my game is good enough to win the main event. Where I used to say it's just a crapshoot. Right? It's just a crapshoot. Everybody's so good. It's impossible to win, right? If my body can hold up, I believe I could win the main event. Okay. Now, the end of day 3 that night, I was lucky I had a table I could run over. I was laying on the board screaming in pain on the floor. They were trying to stretch me out. The pain was so bad because I was sitting in those horrible regular chairs. You know, this year I'm going to bring my own chair down. Well, in the 10Ks they have really comfortable chairs, but if I play any of these no limits, I'm going to have my own chair. They'll put it in the room where Phil's room is or something.
Let me ask: did you sell any of yourself in the 10,000 buy-in?
Well, every year I've always sold half of myself in all the tournaments.
Okay, another question is I played in a buy-in to the main event, so I'm too cheap to pay 10,000. I went into a buy-in. It was $575 buy-in, and I think there was 29 seats available in the tournament. Now, is that beneath you? Would you do that? Because you're basically turning $500 into 10,000. So that's a pretty good payday.
I'm kind of like Eric Persson. I don't really have time to play satellites. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's a one-day satellite for 10,000. But you wouldn't consider that.
Yeah. No, I don't. I play in satellite. Like for the 50K buy-in, I jump in. I put up 5,000 every year to try and win a seat in that 50K buy-in. You know, but that's just it. You know, now that I'm doing really well, I could easily put all of myself in all the tournaments. But I'm going to sell half of myself, and I'm going to sell it at a markup. And I'm not selling it at a markup because I need the money. It's like if I don't need to sell any of myself. So if 100 kids want to put up $40 each to buy half of myself in the 10Ks, then instead of costing them $20, it's costing them what? $26, like big deal. You know what I'm saying? And people cry about markup. I don't give a fuck. If I'm playing, no matter how many, I'm putting up. If I sell 2K of myself, I'm putting up 8K. I'm only doing it for the fans. You know what I'm saying? And I don't charge ridiculous markup. I charge what I think is fair. I charge 1.5 on Omaha 8s. I've made 10 Omaha 8 or betters in the 10K final tables in the last 19 years. Okay, I cashed in the last year. I cashed it. I was very deep. I got completely cooler by Dan Zach, who ends up winning it. Where he somehow has 8. He somehow has 8.
Losing to the winner.
He somehow has. Oh, I lose to everyone who wins. When I get whoever knocks me out always wins the tournament. It's a true story.
That kills me. Some guy sucks out against you.
That just tells you how good I am, because the guy who ends up beating me is the one who wins. Like Dan Zach had 2 dry aces and on a queen jack board, and I happen to have ace king king deuce with hearts, and it came queen jack like baby with 2 hearts. So I have a gutter, kings, and backdoor nut low and nut heart draw, and somehow it rolls off a queen, and I still had like 11 outs to beat him. A king was good now that the board paired, and a 10 was still good, and a heart was still good. I win that hand, I double. I'm sitting on and the next thing, and I'm at the final table. So I'm always going to charge a big markup in the Omaha 8 tournaments. Last year, I sold half myself to the main. I charged 2.0. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I cash it every year. I've cashed the main every year. Like the only 2 years I didn't cash, like in the last 7, were the first year after my surgery where I had all the chips. I was 3rd in chips, and they moved me to the left of the chip leader. And we were like 5 out of the money, and I had 4x average chips. But I was in so much pain. I told my girlfriend at the time, I'm like, I'm going to have all the chips or we're going to be out because the pain is too bad and I can't I don't think I could do it.
You're in a tough spot when.
And I flopped top. I flopped top pair. I flopped top pair and a flush draw against the 3-8 offsuit. He flopped bottom pair. He's raising every hand because he's a chip leader, and I bet big on the flop, and he called with bottom pair, and the turn card came at 8, and he made 2 pair, and he check raised me big, and normally I would just call and then just fold the river, but I moved all in for my other 200,000 because I was like, fuck it, I'm either I knew he'd turn 2 pair. I knew he had like 8-4 offsuit or some dog shit, but you have to understand the pain was so bad. It was right after my surgery. It was brutal. So, I think about that year, and I think about the year where I, in 17 or 16, I think it was 16, where I begged my girlfriend to not fight with me. I had big chips going into day 3, huge chips. And we get in this big fight on the drive out there, and I completely punt off my chips. So I basically should have cashed like 6 of the last 7 years. And if I just stay away from the guy with all the chips, like I finished that day with 800K, I would still be top 10 in chips going to day fucking 3. But the pain, people don't understand that when you have pain that's life altering, I couldn't take it. Anyways, I got to go, man. I'm going to go watch the basketball game. Thanks for calling in. Are you still in Mexico?
Oh, yeah, but I'm going to be sitting across the table from you in the main event at some point.
All right, my man. Have a great weekend.
It may take a couple of years, but I'll see you there.
You got it, my man. Take care.
Okay, ciao.
All right, man. Great show today, everybody. No politics. That's good. There's not really much going on in the world of politics anyways. And a lot of poker. I'm winning. I'm up 21,000 for the week. Week still has 3 days left in it. I have a really nice winning streak together. Last week I won 9,200. Week before 6,600. Small wins, But I'm going to start playing a little bit more and revving it up here before the series. I got to get myself really, really ready for the series. So, love you all. We'll see you next Friday. We're going to try and get another guest next week. We're going to try and go back to getting some guests, talking more poker. And I love you all for tuning in. Thanks for listening to The Mouthpiece. Have a great weekend. And go Lakers.
The Mouthpiece.